On the train, I suddenly felt a sharp pain in my abdomen while pregnant. After the train attendant made an announcement for help, Song Xiaoning from the neighboring carriage claimed to be a doctor. She gave my belly a cursory feel, then proceeded to cut open all my clothes and slice into my abdomen with a fruit knife. My 28-week-old daughter was extracted but quickly suffocated and died. I was hospitalized due to a severe infection and had my uterus removed. After I came to my senses, I looked up Song Xiaoning's background and found out she'd switched to medicine halfway through, only getting into the hospital thanks to a paper ghostwritten for her. She'd never even stepped into an operating room. I confronted her, asking what right she had to perform a C-section on me without any signs of labor. To my shock, she posted a video of me completely naked at the time as proof, claiming she had saved a life only to be extorted in return. I'd become a heartless ingrate, despised by everyone. I couldn't bear the strange looks any longer, so I bolted out the door and was hit by a speeding car. When I opened my eyes again, I felt the long-lost flutter of fetal movement. The baby's movements have become quite frequent, causing waves of pain in my lower abdomen. I didn't groan out loud like I had in my previous life. Instead, I dug my fingernails into my palms, forcing myself to shift focus and stay awake. Seeing this, my husband Lin Tao quickly came over to me. Meng Meng, you don't look so good. Are you feeling unwell? It's all my fault for not planning ahead. Sorry for putting you through this. Mom suddenly fell ill, and I couldn't bear to leave you here alone, so I asked you to come back to my hometown with me. The doctor said you're not due for a while yet, and a few hours on the train shouldn't be a problem, but now you look pale as a ghost. What's going on? Here, have some warm water, Lin Tao said, handing me the cup. I took a tiny sip, and the bitter taste shot straight to the tip of my tongue, sending an immediate alarm through my mind. So it was in the previous life. Not long after we left, Lin Tao realized he'd forgotten his ID card. We had to turn back home to get it, which set us back. By the time we made it to the train station, they were just about to stop checking tickets. I had to run a bit to catch the train, and ever since I got on board, I've had a dull ache in my stomach. Ever since I got pregnant, I've been getting occasional stomach cramps. For the baby's sake, I don't dare take any medicine, so I just tough it out with hot water. Lin Tao went to get some hot water and held it in his hands, urging me to drink more to warm up my stomach. The moment it touched my lips, I could taste a slight bitterness in the water, making it hard to swallow. I feel bad, Lin Tao said with regret. We left in such a hurry that we didn't have time to fill up our water bottles at home. The train doesn't offer much, so you'll have to make do for now. Once we're back home, I'll buy some purified water and boil it for you. I didn't suspect anything, so I drank some right from his hand. The pain in my abdomen didn't ease up at all. Instead, it started to intensify. The baby was kicking and turning inside me, and I was breaking out in a cold sweat from the agony. Lin Tao frantically grabbed a passing flight attendant. My wife is going into labor. Is there a doctor on board? Ever since I entered the third trimester, I've been watching a lot of educational videos. I know that my current symptoms are completely different from actual labor. I told the train attendant that my due date was still a ways off, but I asked if the train could make an unscheduled stop at the next small station so I could go to a hospital for a checkup. But Lin Tao insisted that I should first be examined by a doctor on board. After the attendant made an emergency announcement, a young woman soon arrived from the next carriage. The attendant said she introduced herself as a surgeon from Linjiang Hospital, named Song Xiaoning. She chewed gum, headphones on, strolling up to me at her own pace, then casually reached out and pinched my stomach a couple of times. Going into labor, get the scissors. Without hesitating, I flatly refused. Doctor, I'm still too early in my pregnancy. Delivering now would mean an extremely premature birth. Do you even have resuscitation equipment and incubators here? It's far too dangerous. Could you help ease the pain first? We'll reach the next station in half an hour. I'll try to get to the hospital to save the pregnancy. Song Xiaoning glared at me and snapped. Who's the doctor here? You or me? You're in no condition to wait that long. This could cost both your lives. Lin Tao gripped my hand, tears welling in his eyes. Doctor, please save my wife. I'll take the risk. My child isn't as important as my wife. There were murmurs of approval from inside the carriage. Without a word, Song Xiaoning took the scissors from the flight attendant and proceeded to cut all the clothes off my body. For a moment, I lay completely exposed before everyone. I frantically tried to cover myself, but Song Xiaoning, without any anesthetic, simply took a fruit knife and sliced open my stomach. The pain knocked me out cold right then and there. 3. When I heard a faint, kitten-like cry and forced my eyes open, I saw my tiny, bruised daughter, no bigger than a palm, carelessly tossed on the floor by Song Xiaoning. He's beyond saving. Don't waste your efforts. I need to focus on saving the mother, she explained to everyone. I watched helplessly as my daughter convulsed a few times on the cold floor, then gradually fell still under the dual torment of mind and body. I slipped into unconsciousness once more. When I came to again, I was already in the hospital. With a look of deep concern, Lin Tao told me that due to a severe infection following the C-section, my uterus had to be removed. Meng, don't blame Dr. Xiao Ning, she was acting out of necessity in an emergency. At least she saved your life. I couldn't accept this reality. Ignoring the excruciating pain from my torn wound, I struggled to get to the hospital where Song Xiaoning worked. Only after checking her records did I find out she came to medicine late, got specially admitted as a medical student based on a few SCI papers, and then used connections to get into the hospital. Now, she's only been an intern for 6 months and hasn't even set foot in an operating room. With eyes burning red, I confronted her through gritted teeth, each word dripping with anguish. I wasn't even having contractions then. I could have held on long enough to get to the nearest hospital for a proper checkup and treatment. On what grounds are you performing a cesarean section on me when I have no indications for labor? Do you even have a medical license? Give me back my daughter. I'm going to sue you. Song Xiaoning replied calmly. I conducted numerous animal experiments during my master's studies. I've performed C-sections on both ewes and cows. The anatomical structures of animals and humans are quite similar. Don't presume to criticize my actions when you don't understand the first thing about it. She shoved her phone right in my face to start a live stream, putting on a sanctimonious act and twisting the truth. I know providing emergency medical aid in another jurisdiction could land me in a lot of unnecessary trouble, but as a doctor, I will never give up on saving a life. Your daughter's vital signs were extremely weak at the time. Real life isn't a TV drama. There's no save the mother or save the baby choice. In that situation, my only option was to do everything in my power to ensure the mother's survival. Even though you've hurled such vicious accusations at me, if I had to make the choice all over again, I would still choose to save you, because I have taken a solemn oath, the Hippocratic Oath. Song Xiaoning spoke with such conviction into the camera that several patients in the clinic broke into applause. To prove her point, she even played a video of me lying naked on the floor, completely uncensored. Although the live stream was quickly shut down, the video was saved and circulated by many. Before long, the entrance to the clinic was swarmed with people. What kind of world is this where people still attack doctors? They're your saviors. I'm not saying you have to bow and scrape or repay them with your life, but you can't just bite the hand that feeds you and turn on them. That's just plain extortion. How much are you asking for your doomed daughter? I'll offer 100 million. Burn it for her tomorrow. Ha ha ha. Insults were flying from all sides, pushing me into a corner. Just then, Lin Tao pushed his way through the crowd, and I grabbed the hem of his clothes like a drowning man seizing at a lifeline. Man, you must be desperate. This woman has a rotten character and is built like a hog. How could you even bring yourself to kiss her? Look at that mass of blubber in the video. The doctors had a hell of a time just cutting through the belly fat. If they'd performed the C-section sooner, maybe your daughter wouldn't have died. Several men burst into unrestrained laughter. Lin Tao pried my fingers open one by one and stepped in front of Song Xiaoning. Meng, I know you just lost your child and it's hard to accept emotionally, but Dr. Song's handling of the situation was correct. What's the difference between your behavior now and that of a shrew? You've already caused a lot of trouble for Dr. Ning apologized to her. As he said this, he was about to take me to the psychiatry department to have my head examined. That was the final straw. My heart turned to ashes. I broke free from his grasp and fled in a panic. I was struck by a speeding car right outside the hospital entrance and died on the spot. For the agony of every bone in my body shattering was seared into my very core. Beads of sweat breaking out on my forehead, I spat the water in my mouth into a tissue. Lin Tao grew frantic, urging me, Meng, quick, just take a sip of water and you'll feel better. Recalling Lin Tao's coldness and strange behavior in my past life, I became even more convinced there was something wrong with the water. I shoved his hand away abruptly, spilling most of the water from the glass. Lin Tao's brow furrowed deeply. He stood up abruptly and called out to the flight attendant, quickly, my wife. I hurriedly grabbed a chicken leg from the table and shoved it into his mouth. Hearing this, the flight attendant approached and said, "Ma'am, you look rather pale. Is there anything I can help you with?" I patted my stomach and said, "The bento boxes from your meal cart are absolutely delicious. I'd like to buy 2 more, please." The flight attendant's eyes lit up. "Certainly, would you like one of each? The chicken leg combo is 58, and the beef combo is 78. However, eating too much can easily lead to indigestion. You could also choose to have it packed to go." She gave a meaningful glance towards my noticeably full stomach. I smiled awkwardly. "Yeah, I'm a little too full." Lin Tao finally pulled the chicken leg from his mouth. "No, my wife's in labor. Hurry, make an announcement and get a doctor to help her." The flight attendant paused, not immediately making an announcement for help like she had in her previous life, but instead checking with me. "Are you really pregnant? Are you feeling unwell right now?" I shook my head like a rattle drum. "No, it's just that I ate too much and my stomach's bloated. I'll take some digestive tablets later and I'll be fine." Lin Tao stared at me in disbelief. Meng, you've been to the hospital for prenatal checkups so many times. How can you say you're not pregnant? Don't worry, even if it's time to deliver, I will always prioritize your life. You are more important than the baby." He gazed into my eyes with deep affection and repeated the same words he had said countless times since I became pregnant. Yet, I felt not a shred of warmth, only a chill that ran through my entire body. In my previous life, my death caused a huge uproar and sparked heated discussions among netizens. People followed the trail and dug into Song Xianing's educational background, discovering she attended an obscure university abroad. The name sounds impressive, but it's mostly a place where students pay for a gilded diploma. After returning to China for her master's degree, she had to retake anatomy several times and even failed some core courses. Just as public opinion was starting to swing in my favor, Lin Tao stepped forward to make a statement. "Ever since my wife became pregnant, she has been suffering from persecutory delusions. I was by her side the entire time when Dr. Song saved her. I'm truly grateful for Dr. Song's professional care, and I sincerely apologize for any trouble my wife's mental health condition may have caused him." He went all out, presenting Song Xianing with a banner of praise and inviting multiple media outlets and internet celebrities to live stream the event. Song Xianing also presented her paper, which had been published in a top-tier journal. The lengthy and complex English technical terms left the onlookers speechless. She became famous overnight and finished her internship early to become a fully licensed doctor, drifting as a spirit. I saw Lin Tao holding Song Xianing, fishing for praise. "How will you thank me? I'll give myself to you." Lin Tao smiled, gently booped her nose, and made a promise. Su Meng's parents died young. When she passed, all the family property became her estate. "Once I've settled all this, we'll move abroad." I guess I should actually thank her. Hadn't been for her insisting I accompany her to IVF treatment, I never would have met you, my soulmate. Before he could finish speaking, they'd already pulled each other into a passionate kiss. Only now did I realize that both my daughters and my deaths were meticulously planned by them. Lin Tao first made me drink the medicine to induce contractions. Then had Song Xianing use emergency medical treatment as an excuse to expose this murder right before everyone's eyes. In this life, I firmly denied being pregnant unexpectedly. Instead of making a broadcast for help, flight attendant Song Xianing wobbled over from the adjacent carriage. 5. Song Xianing identified herself to the flight attendant, then reached toward my belly just like she had in the previous life. I slapped her hand away. "What do you think you're doing? You can't just go around touching people's stomachs." This time, I didn't drink the hot water Lin Tao offered. The contractions I'd felt from rushing to catch the train had already subsided considerably. Song Xianing looked at Lin Tao with a puzzled expression. It seems Lin Tao hasn't had a chance to tell her that things have changed. Lin Tao forced a smile and said, Meng, don't be stubborn. The doctor is already here, and they mean well. At least let them take a look. I know you look down on my parents. I know you didn't want to come with me to visit my sick mother back in our hometown, but you can't just say you're not pregnant out of spite. You have to understand, my mother has been longing for a grandson so much she's practically going blind from the anticipation. Lin Tao dismissed my refusal as mere petulance and insisted that Song Xianing perform the examination on me. With that, he gave me a shove toward Song Xianing. Song, my wife is in a lot of pain in her stomach. I'd really appreciate your help. This time, Song Xianing lightly brushed my stomach through my clothes twice before making the exact same judgment as in the previous life. she's going into labor, everyone step back, and bring me a pair of scissors, she directed the flight attendants, gritting my teeth. I pinched my own thigh hard and looked at Lin Tao with tears welling up in my eyes. Honey, are you losing interest in me because I've gained some weight? I just ate an extra lunchbox, and you're calling me pregnant, humiliating me in front of everyone. Do you think I wouldn't know if I were pregnant or not? You're telling me I'm pregnant. Then tell me, who's my obstetrician, when's my due date, how many prenatal checkups have I had since becoming pregnant, and what were the results? I bet he can't answer it. This pregnancy hasn't been easy for us. 3 years after getting married, I still haven't gotten pregnant. His mother started off by muttering behind my back that I was like a hen that wouldn't lay eggs, then gradually escalated to pointing her finger at me, cursing that I'd cut off the Lin family's lineage and left her unable to hold her head up in the clan or the village. I had to threaten divorce to get Lin Tao to send her back to her hometown. Then Lin Tao and I began our journey through IVF. Lin Tao's sperm motility is extremely poor, so the doctor's first recommendation is donor sperm, of course. Their family wouldn't agree to raise someone else's child, so they outright rejected the best option, so I ended up getting over a dozen shots just for ovarian stimulation, and went through egg retrieval 5 times. The 2-year IVF journey, combined with constant hormone treatments, caused me to gain over 30 pounds and even led to hair loss. At first, Lin Tao still felt guilty and actively accompanied me running back and forth at the hospital, but in the end, repeated failures crushed his pride, leaving him furious and humiliated, and he never accompanied me to the hospital again. Even after I found out I was pregnant, he only took a photo of the test report and posted it on Moments to prove to everyone that he could do it. In my past life, I didn't find out until after I died that whenever he claimed to have no time to accompany me for prenatal checkups, he was actually hanging out with Song Xiaoning even when I was heavily pregnant. Clutching my prenatal records for an appointment in obstetrics, he was upstairs at the entrance to the surgery clinic picking up Song Xiaoning after work. Then I turned to Song Xiaoning, and you, where the hell did you come from? Just because you say you're a doctor doesn't make you one. Where's your professional license? Can you afford the responsibility if something happens to me? Song Xiaoning looked at me seriously. Miss Pregnant Woman, your belly is so big. It's definitely not just from eating too much. Based on my experience, you are indeed in labor. Whether you are pregnant or not will be confirmed after the cesarean section. I am a doctor, and my judgment is not mistaken. I'm saving your life. That's my duty as a doctor. I simply can't stand by and let someone die. Even if you end up repaying my kindness with betrayal, I'll accept it. Song Xiaoning's words sounded noble and righteous, but they didn't earn the praise from everyone as they had in her previous life. It even sparked widespread skepticism. Has the world gone so mad that a larger person needs to undergo surgery just to prove whether they're pregnant? Miss Doctor, over there, even if she really is pregnant, there's no need to cut open her belly just to prove your point, and I think she's doing just fine. If you're so eager for surgery, why not just work overtime at the hospital? Is this really something you can force on someone? The accusations came one after another, and Lin Tao didn't dare say another word. Song Xiaoning's face was growing paler, and after shooting Lin Tao a venomous glance, she was about to slink away. Hey! Wait a minute. I grabbed Song Xiaoning by the arm. 6. Song Xiaoning couldn't suppress the smug curl of her lips. Are you in unbearable stomach pain? Hurry up and take off your clothes yourself. Every extra minute increases your risk. If something unexpected happens, I can't guarantee I'll be able to save your life, she said, picking up the fruit knife from the nearby table. Just then, an urgent announcement blared over the speakers. Emergency, is there a doctor on board? Please come to the first carriage immediately. A passenger is going into labor. Song Xiaoning froze mid-motion, as if struck by a sudden thought. The color drained from her face. I actually wanted to book a business class seat, but to my surprise, they were all sold out. I had no choice but to settle for a first-class seat instead. After boarding, I heard that someone had booked 3 entire train carriages. Surrounded by a crowd in the middle of it all was what appeared to be a pregnant woman. It just occurred to me that in my previous life, right before I lost consciousness from having my stomach cut open, I heard the announcement come on again, calling for medical personnel to attend to a woman in labor in the business class section. At the time, Song Xiaoning refused to go, using the excuse that she was already treating me. I later found out that the woman was the celebrity Qin Yi, who had married into a wealthy family. It was her first pregnancy, and according to family tradition, she went to a temple to burn incense and pray for blessings before delivery. On the return trip, To avoid the effects of air pressure on her body during the flight, she chose to take the high-speed train instead. I vaguely remember that even though she didn't get to see a doctor in time, the baby was full-term, and she ended up giving birth naturally right there in the train car. Mother and child were both safe. If Song Xiaoning dares to operate on her, her fake medical credentials will likely be exposed during the investigation. Seeing Song Xiaoning hesitating to move, the flight attendant reminded her, "Dr. Song, the situation in carriage 1 is urgent. Please go take a look as soon as possible. Didn't you just say you were confident about performing a C-section? This passenger seems stable for now. Could you please attend to the more urgent case in car 1 first?" The murmurs around them grew louder, the rumors about the pregnant woman in car No. 1 becoming more and more outlandish. And Song Xiaoning's brow furrowed deeper and deeper. She also knew this was no stroke of luck. If things went smoothly, fine, but one misstep, and even her life wouldn't be enough to pay the price. In my past life, Song Xiaoning used me as a shield. This time, I won't give her the chance. I pulled a bag of chips from my purse and stuffed some in my mouth. Dr. Song, I'll admit I have a bit of a snacking habit, but I'm really not pregnant. Please don't waste your time on me. There are other patients over there who need you more. I remember you mentioned something about a Bengal oath earlier. I don't really know what it is, but they say it's a core belief for you angels in white. You wouldn't really abandon your oath and refuse to help someone in dire need, would you? Song Xiaoning shook her head. I'd really like to go help, but after pouring all my enthusiasm into trying to treat you only to be rejected, I'm just not in the right state of mind. Before she could finish her sentence, she was interrupted by several burly men in suits. The leader grabbed Song Xiaoning without hesitation and dragged her back. "So you're the doctor. Our young mistress is in terrible pain. We'd be most grateful if you could come at once, in front of us ordinary people." Song Xiaoning could afford to be a bit arrogant, given his status as a doctor, and no one really minded. In the presence of a man of such immense wealth, she was merely a tool, expected to have neither thoughts nor opinions of her own. Unable to shake his concern, Lin Tao grabbed me and pulled me along as we followed them toward carriage No. 17. By the time Song Xiaoning arrived, Qin Yi was already slumped on the floor, her face deathly pale. Lin Tao and I were stopped at the carriage door. Standing beside Qin Yi was an older woman, who was pressuring Song Xiaoning with an imposing manner to come up with a solution quickly. "I heard you're a doctor from Linjiang Hospital. Your hospital's Vice President Lu used to be our family physician. She's been in pain for over 10 minutes. I've heard that if the baby stays inside too long, it can lead to oxygen deprivation. Get my grandson out of her now. I won't tolerate a single mistake." A palpable, chilling pressure suddenly filled the air. I saw a fine sheen of sweat break out on Song Xiaoning's forehead. At the woman's signal, a bodyguard produced a case. Inside lay several sharp knives, their blades gleaming coldly. Song Xiaoning's hands trembled as she picked up one of them, shakily advancing toward Qin Yi. Before I'd even made it halfway, my legs gave way and I collapsed to the ground. She finally cracked under pressure and spilled everything she'd been hiding. I can't do it. I'm sorry, but I've only just started my internship. I haven't even been inside an operating room yet." Hearing this, Qin Yi shook her head in alarm and insisted someone take Song Xiaoning away to find a proper doctor. But the older woman shook her head. "There's no time. The child can't wait that long." She said to Song Xiaoning, "You may not have performed surgery, but I've heard that during your studies, you dissected many animals. There must be considerable overlap, wouldn't you say? My daughter-in-law is young and in good health. She can afford to wait, but the child is too fragile. Proceed with the surgery boldly. I believe she, as a mother, would be willing to make certain sacrifices for her child." The implication in those words sent a chill down one's spine, but Song Xiaoning trembled even more violently, her words coming out fragmented and incomplete. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Jiang. Human skin tissue and uterine structure are vastly different from those of animals. I simply don't dare. What if the child's face gets scratched?" I recognized the older woman as the wife of Jiang Yiming from Haishur, notorious for her iron-fisted ways. Little did I know that in her eyes, Qin Yi was merely a breeding tool to carry on the family line, her life as worthless as dirt. Her face darkened with cold fury, and she kicked Song Xiaoning over. "Get out. You useless wretch, just you wait. I'm calling your Dean Lu right now. After this, don't even think about staying in the medical field." Song Xiaoning scrambled away in a panic. Qin Yi's face had turned as pale as parchment, her entire body drenched in sweat. It suddenly dawned on me that in my past life, The so-called mother and child are safe was merely the official story the wealthy family told the outside world. In her current state, Qin was very likely to lose her life after giving birth. I shoved the bodyguard blocking my way aside and shouted to Lady Jiang, I might be able to help. After a moment's thought, Lady Jiang gestured for me to enter the carriage. I whispered in her ear, someone was secretly recording a video by the entrance just now. Miss Qin has quite the reputation. If anything were to go wrong, it could reflect poorly on the Jiang family, and I'm sure that's the last thing you'd want. Please, let me see if I can help Miss Qin deliver the baby naturally. Mrs. Jiang nodded, her expression a mixture of doubt and hope. Had someone draw a curtain in front of Qin to protect her privacy? I knelt beside Qin and reassured her, don't worry, I'm pregnant too, you're going to be okay. I carefully recalled the Lamaze breathing techniques I had learned for natural childbirth. Guiding her to push in rhythm with me, she clung to my hand as if it were a lifeline, holding on for dear life. But several minutes passed, and I still couldn't see the baby's head. Mrs. Jiang paced back and forth, her patience wearing thin. Gritting my teeth, I produced the half-full cup of water. Miss Qin, this cup contains medication to induce contractions. Your labor has stalled. For your own sake, will you trust me? Qin hesitated for a moment, then downed the contents of the cup in one gulp before Mrs. Jiang could intervene. Mrs. Jiang's face turned cold as she threatened me. What medicine did you give her? Could it harm the baby? Do you have any idea she hasn't taken a single pill since she got pregnant? She even toughed out a severe flu on her own. If she's not physically fit, what right does she have to bear a child of the Jiang family? But now that Qin had already drunk it, arguing was pointless. Wary of the paparazzi I'd mentioned earlier, she didn't press the issue any further. As the medicine took effect, Qin's belly tightened in waves. With the intensifying pain, it was as if she had been jolted back to life. Suddenly summoning a surge of immense strength, following my lead, she let out a sharp cry, and the baby was finally delivered safely. A faint infant's cry echoed through the workshop. I quickly wrapped the baby in the blanket that had been prepared nearby. The baby was born full term, and I feared it would be like my daughter from my past life. Fortunately, after being kept warm, the baby's bluish skin gradually faded, and its cries grew stronger and more robust. I placed the baby on Qin's abdomen and, following the emergency childbirth procedures from an educational video, tied off the umbilical cord with a cotton string. Just then, the train finally arrived, and the medical team, who had been waiting outside well in advance, took the mother and child away. I finally breathed a sigh of relief, perhaps seeing her precious grandson safely delivered. Mrs. Jiang's expression softened considerably. She instructed the medical team to allocate an ambulance for me and took me to the hospital with her. I underwent a full set of examinations at a high-end private hospital, and the doctor told me the baby in my womb was perfectly healthy. My daughter, perhaps having moved around too vigorously earlier, was now sleeping soundly inside me. Just as I was about to leave, Qin sent someone to summon me. Thank you for saving my wife and child, Miss Su. She offered a brief, somewhat condescending word of thanks, but then handed me a bank card, which instantly dissolved my resentment. That quack doctor on the train, the one who was about to pull a knife on me, do you know him? Having regained some of her strength, she was ready to settle the score. For now, I can't touch that person directly, but making an example of someone is still necessary. Song Xiaoning was to be her chosen example. 9. I told her the whole story exactly as it happened. Actually, the drug in that cup was oxytocin, something she and my husband had prepared to harm me. Qin nodded. How could such vermin be worthy of wearing white? I told Qin about my plans and asked her for a small favor. Go ahead and check. Qin might not have much else, but when it comes to traffic, I've got all I need. Using fragmented memories from my past life, I managed to track down a few of Song Xiaoning's college classmates. They all share one thing in common. They're all second generation. From a young age, I've navigated a series of unconventional selection processes, skillfully sidestepping the standard examination path. Song Xiaoning is even more of a latecomer. She effortlessly landed an opportunity that others had struggled for 8 years or more to achieve. I compiled all of these and sent them to Qin. Qin was once a wildly popular actress who announced her retirement at the peak of her career, only to turn around and marry into a wealthy family to start a family. Her voice immediately captured the attention of hundreds of millions. In the video, her face was deathly pale as she recounted what happened on the train. it's human nature to cozy up to the powerful, but she shouldn't have used my life and my child's as bargaining chips. She's the devil in a white coat. After that, Chin Yi and I went live together. I made public the evidence I had gathered during this time, which proved Lin Tao and Song Xianing's affair, as well as Song Xianing's abuse of her professional position to privately prescribe uterine contraction medication to Lin Tao. Song Xianing was fired from the hospital. At the same time, I filed for divorce from Lin Tao. He knelt before me, crying and begging. It was just a momentary lapse in judgment. She lied to me, saying our daughter was found to have a heart defect during the prenatal checkup. I knew how hard it was for you to get pregnant, and I was afraid you wouldn't agree to terminate the pregnancy, so I went along with her plan. I recorded his words, reported him to the police, and accused him and Song Xianing of attempted murder. Lin Tao and Song Xianing were sent to prison. 10. When I went to pick up the divorce certificate, I ran into Lin Tao again, this time holding my 1-month-old baby. He asked me, frustrated, Meng, I'm the father of the child. For the sake of the child, if you just write a letter of forgiveness, I can get my sentence reduced. I laughed. Who told you that you're the father? Their daughter was a beautiful mixed-race baby, and Lin Tao was completely captivated. He froze, then grabbed the iron bars and shook them violently. What do you mean, you cheated on me? Holding the freshly printed divorce papers, I shook my head with a bitter laugh. Honestly, a mind full of filth sees filth everywhere. Do you think everyone is as low as you? I produced a signed sperm donation consent form, and there, unmistakably, was Lin Tao's own signature. After my repeated IVF failures, Lin Tao grew increasingly impatient about accompanying me to the hospital. The last time, I told him that if this attempt also failed, I would agree to adopt his brother's child and, as compensation, give his brother one of the school district apartments from my father's estate. And it was during that same visit that he met Song Xianing. While I was inside for the egg retrieval, the two of them hit it off instantly outside the consultation room and exchanged contact information. As I endured the pain and listened to the doctor's instructions, he sat there with a smile on his face, typing furiously on his phone. Almost as if guided by some strange impulse, I pulled out the informed consent form for using donor sperm, the very document he had once flatly refused. Lin Tao was stunned. After I got pregnant, he thought he was back to normal and completely dismissed the doctor's warnings. He kept up with his drinking and social engagements, and under the influence of alcohol, his condition had progressed from oligospermia to azoospermia. He would never have biological children of his own. After their 3-year sentences were served, Lin Tao and Song Xianing were released from prison one after the other. I also moved away from Haisher and returned to my parents' hometown to live. Occasionally, I have video calls with Chin Yi to chat about the little things in parenting. At her urging, her husband diluted his equity stake, cashed out a large sum of money, and went head-to-head with the family business. He took with him all the connections his late mother had left him, and his stepmother, Madame Jiang, soon found herself at a disadvantage. The day she got kicked out, I threw her own words back at her, and the look on her face was priceless. Well, if anyone's to blame, it's your weak body for failing to give birth to the Jiang family's bloodline, so naturally, you end up kicked out by your stepson. After chatting for a while, Chin Yi suddenly brought it up. Song Xianing's family had some means. After she got out of prison, they paved the way for her again, helping her get her medical license back. The thing is, no major hospital would take her. She's stuck working at some second-rate clinic now, probably waiting for the dust to settle before making her next move. I didn't want to dwell on these old matters any longer, so I didn't ask any more questions. I never expected Lin Tao to reach out to me again. 11. After getting out of prison, he couldn't find a job, despite having graduated from a prestigious university, and was forced to make a living delivering food to numb the sense of disappointment. He drowned his sorrows in alcohol every day. He was slurring his words on the other end of the line, clearly drunk, mumbling that he knew he was wrong and shouldn't have betrayed me or our family. Meng, it's my fault for losing my head. I was selfish. I wanted the stability you brought to our home, yet I also foolishly longed to have a successful, independent woman by my side. Meng, my stomach hurts so much. I can't find that stomach medicine you bought me before. Lin Tao was moaning in pain, and I could tell his pancreatitis had flared up again. For years now, climbing the career ladder has meant his daily routine is filled with drinking and client entertainment. I've had 2 bouts of pancreatitis, and both times, it was my careful care that pulled me through. I'd been studying recipes and using dietary therapy to regulate his health. He hasn't had a flare-up in 2 years, now that he's living irregularly and drowning his sorrows in alcohol every day. It's no surprise he's relapsing. A sudden thought struck me. Where are you? I'll call an ambulance for you. Lin Tao became emotional. Meng Meng, I knew you still cared about me. Using the address Lin Tao had given me, I dialed the emergency number for Song Xiaoying's hospital. The dispatcher informed me that they were quite far from the patient's location and that responding across districts would incur an additional fee of 200 yuan. I told her money wasn't an issue. The patient had been treated and recovered here before, even though they're a little-known private clinic. We only trust them. The ambulance took Lin Tao to the hospital. And I went out of my way to find out that Song Xiaoning happened to be on emergency duty tonight. When I got the call from the hospital saying Lin Tao needed urgent surgery and that I, as the emergency contact, had to come and pay, I just turned off my phone. We may have only been married for a short time, but a day of marriage brings 100 days of affection. I feel completely at ease handing him over to Song Xiaoning, this fleeting spouse of mine, especially since she's a white-clad angel. The next day, the moment I turned my phone on, Qin Yi's call came through. Why did you have to turn your phone off at a time like this? You missed the whole show. On the other end of the line, she was cracking sunflower seeds, bursting with the urge to share. Song Xiaoning died early this morning, stabbed to death by Lin Tao. They tried to keep this scandal under wraps at their hospital, but I blew the whistle. You'll probably see it all over the headlines soon, through Qin Yi's rapid-fire chatter. I finally got the whole story. Lin Tao was taken to the operating room and prepped for surgery, ready to begin as soon as the family completed the payment, but my phone was turned off, and just as he failed to reach me, he happened to see Song Xiaoning walk in wearing scrubs. The excruciating abdominal pain made him forget all past grievances. He grabbed Song Xiaoning's hand, begging her to front the medical fees for him, appealing to the fact that he had once abandoned his family for her. Sake, Song Xiaoning didn't let him finish. She wrenched her hand away and desperately tried to explain herself to another doctor beside her. Senior, don't listen to his nonsense. Right after graduation, I was framed. I took the fall for someone else's medical malpractice and spent years inside. I've never had a boyfriend. You're the first person I've ever liked. But the man wasn't so easily fooled. He cross-referenced Lin Tao's timeline with the trending news from 3 years ago, piecing together what really happened. He slapped Song Xiaoning right across the face. And to think I actually believed your lies, vouched for you in front of the dean, and was even willing to give you the first authorship on the medical paper I'd been working on for years. I never imagined you'd be so selfish, willing to use a pregnant woman and her unborn child as stepping stones. You don't deserve to wear that uniform. Don't even think about having a future in the medical field. 12. Song Xiaoning's surgery was halted, throwing the operating room into chaos. Lin Tao was left unattended on the operating table for nearly an hour, writhing in agony. He crawled to Song Xiaoning's feet, begging her to operate on him first. Song Xiaoning abruptly knocked the surgical instruments to the ground. If you hadn't told me back then that you knew academician by from the medical field, do you really think I would have given you the time of day? I didn't realize until I ended up in jail that you were the guy who once got an appointment with academician by. Somehow that's something you actually brag about to pick up girls. You're in this mess because of your own doing. You've got what you deserved. If you're so capable, go ahead and operate on yourself. Song Xiaoning finished speaking and turned to leave, unaware that Lin Tao was already in so much pain he'd lost consciousness, and fueled by her taunts. He groped through the mess on the floor and found a scalpel. With a swift, decisive motion, Lin Tao slit open Song Xiaoning's abdomen. Song Xiaoning was killed instantly, and Lin Tao was sentenced to death for intentional homicide. I was picking up Nyo from kindergarten when I received a notice from the procuratorate. Inmate Lin Tao's execution has been carried out. Please come to collect the ashes and personal effects. The relevant department's update of the inmate's contact information is far too slow. I vented my frustration, sending over a photo of my divorce certificate to make it clear I was no longer connected to him. Looking down, I saw Nyo holding out her little hand to show me the new red flower she had earned. Mommy, what did you just say? I smiled and ruffled her hair, saying, Mommy says I'll always be right here with you. The glow of the setting sun illuminated my daughter's beaming smile, dazzlingly bright. The end. Story 2. I shamelessly pestered our aloof senior brother to practice dual cultivation with me, only to be branded shameless by his rebuke, making me the laughingstock of the entire sect. Through blood and tears, I eventually mastered the path of heartlessness, my heart turned to unyielding stone, impervious to any lingering threads of affection, yet there he stood, eyes rimmed red, voice trembling as he begged to know if I still loved him. I licked my lips. Darling, you look delightfully murderable. The master sent second sister and third brother to escort me back to the sect. My sword flight technique had grown rusty, trembling. I clutched my senior sister's arm, squeezing my eyes shut against the dizzying height. The biting wind howled past my ears, carrying third senior brother's mocking voice. Second senior sister, look at her. What a convincing act. Just 5 years away with her family, while other disciples don't even get this privilege. I bit my lower lip hard, not daring to utter a word. 5 years have long since stripped me of all arrogance. I'm no longer the master's proudest final disciple, just a crippled outcast at everyone's mercy. My senior sister remained silent, gliding on her sword, returned to the sect. The moment I dismounted my sword, a wave of dizziness hit me. I staggered a few steps, nearly tumbling to the ground. Third senior brother snorted in amusement. True swordsmanship lies in the unity of blade and wielder. Even the sword beneath your feet seems to recoil in disgust. Senior sister, third brother's past devotion was genuine, just as his current contempt is unmistakable. I understood. I bent down to pick up senior sister's Qingming sword, carefully wiping the part of the blade I'd stepped on with my sleeve, but third brother snatched the sword away and scoffed. The more you wipe, the dirtier it gets. Doing this on purpose. Clutching the hem of my robe, I whispered an apology. I'm sorry, forget it, don't dwell on such trivial matters. Second senior sister sheathed her sword. The next instant, third senior brother commanded imperiously, to the sword pavilion first. My expression stiffened slightly, eyes reddening as I wanted to ask if we could skip it. The words caught in my throat, choking me into silence. All I could do was nod weakly. All right. The moment I took a step, a razor-sharp chill shot through the air. Looking up, I saw a swordsman riding his blade, steel glinting coldly with lethal intent. I stumbled backward in shock, clutching the pack slung over my shoulder. The figure stood clad in white robes, his expression icy and severe. He landed soundlessly, advancing step by deliberate step. Each footfall crushed my heart like an iron boot, stealing my breath away. A crowd of Azure Cloud's sect disciples had already gathered around. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Who's this peasant woman? Since when does our sect accept every stray that comes begging? Wait, doesn't she look like Myra, the prodigy girl we exiled 5 years ago? She was so radiant back then. How did she end up in this wretched state? Is that really Myra, the one who shamelessly clung to senior brother Lysander for over a decade, flaunting her so-called prodigious talents? Thank heavens the head disciple is betrothed to junior sister Vale. Otherwise, that woman would be clamoring for dual cultivation with him the moment she returned. Utterly brazen. Now everyone knows who I am. Those who once knew me, and those who didn't. Once heaven's favored daughter, now a disgraced wreck, flustered and humiliated. I desperately sought somewhere to hide. My hesitant demeanor only reinforced the villagers' perception of me as a timid country bumpkin. Survival instincts kicked in. I abandoned my former defiance, biting my lip as I begged for mercy. I deeply regret my past disrespect toward you, senior brother. From now on, Myra will devote herself solely to serving our master and cultivating diligently. No more unwelcome attachments. Lysander's eyelids lifted slightly, as if surprised by this answer. He probably thought I'd return to pester him again, just like Myra used to, even when condemned by all. She'd still cling desperately, saying, I can abandon cultivation, I can forsake my powers, but I won't leave this mountain. I can't be without Lysander. 5 years pass in the blink of an eye for those in seclusion, yet it's enough to turn the tides of time and reshape the world. Lysander sneered as he slowly leaned down, gripping my chin to force me to meet his gaze. Myra, never thought you'd come to this. His grip was crushing, nearly shattering my jaw. I gasped in pain but dared not make a sound. Stop playing the victim. Weren't you so proud when you pushed Vale off the cliff? Lysander glared at my stunned expression and demanded coldly, why did you come back? Before I could finish, he abruptly released his grip. I staggered backward a few steps, bumping into the tree trunk behind me. The snickering that started when I arrived never ceased, now growing bolder and more open. It seems everyone feels entitled to weigh in with their 2 cents. The old me would have drawn my sword without hesitation, let them taste the consequences of their loose tongues. But now, my heart pounds like thunder while my limbs turn weak. I looked frantically at second sister and third brother who'd come to retrieve me, yet they stood aside, Unwilling to intervene, our master summoned me back to the sect. I should have paid my respects to him first, yet they insisted I go to the sword pavilion where the senior brother resides. Nothing but a ploy to humiliate me. Shrinking into my frail frame, I murmured in reply. The master called me back to the sect. Lysander looked down on me with utter contempt, as if I were an insect beneath his notice. Who do you think you are, unworthy of our master's attention? He didn't believe me. The second senior sister finally stepped forward, shielding me with her presence. Elder brother, it was indeed master's order for me and junior brother to bring her back. She knew if she didn't intervene, Lysander would have taken my life. Lysander's piercing gaze fell upon second sister, who instinctively stepped aside. My whole body trembled, yet I forced myself to meet his eyes. I swear I'll never set foot near the sword pavilion again, nor will I ever see Vale. Please don't send me away. I don't want to leave the mountain. I refuse to be trapped in that godforsaken patch of land again, living worse than livestock. Lysander looked down at Myra, once so radiant and proud, now groveling like a dog for his mercy, his eyes filled with nothing but disgust. One more stupid move, and you know what's coming. It won't happen again. I mean it. Yet Lysander's face remained stormy as he kicked me away. I crashed to the ground, spitting out a mouthful of blood. No longer possessing a cultivator's physique, I couldn't withstand even the slightest abuse from the sect disciples. Through my blurred vision, I saw him riding away on his sword. I lay sprawled on the ground, feeling as if every bone in my body was broken, the pain so intense I could barely breathe. They cast me out at the sect's gates, forced to trek alone to seek my master. Starvation and internal injuries left me staggering, gazing up at the cloud-piercing summit. I gritted my teeth. No turning back. The night grew darker as I trudged on through the pitch black. Fall down, get back up. As long as I'm breathing, I'll keep living. Finally reached my master's sanctuary. Master, your disciple Myra seeks an audience. I cried out with my last ounce of strength. The gatekeeper peered out. He regarded me coldly. In such a state, how dare you disturb the master's meditation? Be gone, and return tomorrow. My voice trailed off in a tremble. At a loss for words, the doorman had already closed the gate. I tried to reach out to stop him, but collapsed weakly to the ground. This disciple seeks an audience with the master. The barely audible whisper made me realize I lacked strength for another round trip, just waiting through the night. No big deal. I slumped half dead on the icy palace steps. Pitiful as a beaten dog, my scattered senses only began returning when a familiar figure entered my view. It was Vale emerging from the master's chambers, with a radiant laugh. She soared away on her sword after bidding farewell. So, master hadn't retired for the night after all, simply didn't wish to see me, that's all. Struggling to my feet, I attempted to bow to my master, Moss. Only when I looked up did I realize the door had closed again. Swallowing my words, I slumped back against the icy wall, huddled in wait for dawn. Every rustle in the darkness filled me with dread. I hugged myself tightly, drifting into a dazed slumber. I dreamed of a scene from 5 years ago. My second senior sister found a battered girl in a mountain ravine during her travels, beaten half dead by her alcoholic father. Seeing the girl bore striking resemblance to me, she brought her back to our sect and named her Vale. Vale resembles me in appearance, but has a far more endearing personality. The master made an exception to take her as his personal disciple, despite her average aptitude. As the youngest disciple, she naturally received the entire sect's favoritism. At that time, I was recovering from injuries sustained in the demon-slaying war through secluded cultivation. On the day I left seclusion, I eagerly sought out my fellow disciples, but there stood Lysander, shielding her behind him and warning me not to lay a finger on her. Only then did I realize, during my 2-year retreat, the sect had found my replacement. I couldn't care less about others, but Lysander, he's my line in the sand. Swallowing my pride, I approached Vale and told her to stay away from Lysander, but that day, she panicked at the sight of me as if I were a ghost, and leaped off the cliff without hesitation. Her cultivation was still weak. A fall from that height would be fatal. I intended to save her first, but someone beat me to it. Lysander pulled her back into his arms, whispering comforts. Thus, I became the executioner who pushed her off the cliff. To make matters worse, the sect's treasured soul-guarding elixir under my watch has gone missing, and then there happened to be Vale as an eyewitness. In the end, the blame for theft and harm was pinned on me. I was stubborn and refused to admit it to the bitter end. The sect disciples were determined to finish me off. I understand. So the senior disciple personally petitioned to have my cultivation abolished and banished me back to Chin village. The village relatives resented me for cutting off their sect stipends after my expulsion, tormenting me at every turn for bringing bad luck. These hands that once wielded swords could now only grasp hoes, endless farm chores and household tasks, an ever-empty stomach. None of these were the cruelest fate. My perpetually drunken brother and venomous sister-in-law were the cruelest torment throughout those interminable years. Not a single day passed without me being covered in wounds. I did attempt escape once. I trudged back to the sect with bleeding feet. I begged Lysander through tears to let me stay by his side, even if it meant serving him hand and foot. He gave a cold laugh. Pressing the tip of his sword against my throat, he gave me two choices: either I kneel before Vale and beg for forgiveness, either we never meet again in this life, or the next encounter will be my death at his hands. I chose neither path. I'd rather die than bow to her. If I'm not wrong, why should I admit guilt? As I turned in disarray to flee the immortal sect, Lysander stubbornly insisted on escorting me back to Chen village by sword flight, back to the demonic lair I'd struggled so desperately to escape. The newly cast barrier ensnared me completely. In the end, even heaven turned a deaf ear to my cries. My brother and his wife decided to marry me off to a vile old man in the village for silver. 3. When they found I couldn't cross the barrier, they beat me mercilessly. After much deliberation, they even planned to sell our ancestral home to him, just so he could defile me within its walls. Through tears, I finally took out the communication stone Lysander had left me. I admit I was wrong. I'm willing to get on my knees and apologize to Vale. I begged him to come get me. If we just ride the flying sword, we'll definitely make it in time. But the communication stone remains silent. The pain returns as winter's cruel wind tears open old scars. The sword hand now bears the ravages of time, cracked with frostbite. The once graceful, straight back now stands twisted and broken. A searing fire rages within. I curled up in the corner, clutching the aching spots with both hands, but to no avail. In my sleep, tears had already overflowed like a broken dam. It hurts, it really hurts. Myra, Myra. I don't know how long I'd been asleep when someone calling my name finally roused me from my tearful slumber. The scene before me was hazy, rubbing my eyes. I strained to see more clearly. There stood my master. Master, I croaked hoarsely. My mentor, unseen for 5 years, asked the moment I awoke, Myra, do you understand your mistake? I gave a faint acknowledgement and lowered my head. The submission in my bearing resembled a beast broken of its wild spirit. The master sighed and walked up to me. Myra, you were once my most promising disciple, yet your temperament grew too overbearing. Last night, I deliberately tested your patience. Do you resent me for this? This disciple recognizes her faults. I begged the master to grant me a chance to redeem myself. The master looked at me, a flicker of compassion flashing in his eyes. He sighed. Very well, you may stay. Thank you, master. I immediately knelt in gratitude. The next moment, my body became so heavy that I collapsed face down, utterly unable to rise. I heard someone entering from outside the door. A chilling voice reached my ears. Still putting on an act in front of our master, third senior brother stepped forward, grabbed my collar, and forced me to meet his gaze. I instinctively dodged. You violated the sect's sacred laws, instead of obliterating your soul with the soul-severing sword. Master merely sent you home to reflect. How did you end up in this half-dead state? Yesterday was bad enough, but today you've crossed the line, daring to put on airs before Master. The third elder brother hauled me up from the ground in anger, startled to find I weighed barely half of what I used to. Why is it so light? I instinctively begged for mercy. Senior brother, I was wrong. I admit it. The chill from last night got to me, leaving me listless. I can't take another beating. The master's expression turned stern as he ordered the third senior disciple to put me down. Gazing at me with solemnity, he said, Myra, remember this. The path of cultivation is like sailing against the current. If you don't advance, you'll regress. The mistakes you've made must be atoned for throughout your entire life. In my dazed state, I mumbled, yes, yes, Myra understands her wrongs. Please don't punish Myra. But what wrong had I actually committed doesn't seem to matter anymore, as long as I never have to return to that hellhole again. Third senior brother asked, Master, has she gone mad? the old me would rather slit my own throat than utter such spineless words. They call this the cultivator's code of honor. Fearless in the face of life and death. Little do they know I've been implanted with an immortality goo. I can't die. During those 5 agonizing years, whenever I sought release through death, the immortality goo within me would activate, leaving me unable to end my own life under endless torment. Wouldn't anyone learn patience and obedience? Or perhaps I'm just more afraid of pain than most. Seeing my feverish state, the master instructed his disciple to fetch medicine. The medicine was bitter, yet I didn't so much as flinch. The Azure Cloud Immortal sect is renowned across the realm, and this bowl of herbal medicine should cure my chill. Feeling better now, when I looked up again, the hall was already packed with people, the aloof and noble senior brother, the mischievous and adorable junior sister. Vale clung to Lysander's arm, her voice dripping with honeyed sweetness. Eldest brother, no matter what happened in the past, I still hope to receive little sister's blessing. Third brother said indulgently, you're just too naive. Turning to me with a darkened expression, your return was ill-timed after all. You should have at least waited until after their wedding. Lysander gave me a cold glance, his voice icy. She's incapable of making trouble. I listened numbly, as if they weren't talking about me, until my master's voice rang in my ears. Your eldest brother and junior sister will wed soon. Never again let jealousy drive you to disgraceful acts that shame this master. I bowed my head respectfully and said, I understand, master. I sincerely wish senior brother and junior sister a lifetime of happiness together. The next second, an impatient voice cut me off. Myra, how long are you going to keep pretending? Almost reflexively, I responded, senior brother, I truly mean my blessings for you and junior sister Vale. Standing side by side, they looked like the most harmonious springtime painting, a perfect match. I lifted my gaze to meet his piercing stare made me flinch. Did my rushed answer make me seem insincere? The Azure Cloud Immortal sect is a prestigious cultivation sect. In their eyes, 5 years pass as quickly as the opening and closing of a door. How could 5 years ever dull the pride of this heaven-blessed prodigy? My feigned vulnerability and flattery must appear utterly theatrical to them. At least this way they won't dig into those 5 wretched years of my past, so I can still cling to the last shred of my dignity. The silence is suffocating me. I stammered timidly, Master, Myra has offended the senior disciple. I beg to be punished at the Withering Blossom Gorge. For the Vale of Withering Blossoms is the cursed land of the Azure Cloud Immortal sect. Fierce beasts roam freely in this perilous domain. Once entered, none return without extraordinary fortune. Perhaps this punishment went too far. Everyone found it utterly absurd. Are you out of your damn mind? The third senior brother stepped forward and shoved me hard in the shoulder. As I fell to the ground, the old wound on my back split open again, the pain making me grimace. I am indeed sick. That's why I never want to face them again, to spare myself the torment while I'm already ill. The immortality goo won't let me hang myself. It'll force me to cling to life instead, entering the Vale of Withering, never to return. That's the only proper end for me. Even if I die during this time, the goo worms still can't control me. I refuse to be manipulated into begging those immortal sect members for salvation, though they could grant me rebirth with just a flick of their fingers, a mere crumb of their mercy. My final dignity is simply to die with grace. Myra, have you lost your mind? The Withering Vale is cursed land. Even if there was a reason, you shouldn't go there. Second sister's voice was grave. I looked up at second sister and said, I know. Lysander snorted, stepped forward, and yanked me up by the collar. The collar choked me, but I dared not struggle, terrified of provoking his wrath again. I was afraid of him. Lysander glared at me. Trash should know its place. Don't delude yourself into thinking you're capable of anything. With that snarl, he hurled me back onto the ground. I was thrown into such disarray that I could barely stand, but at least, it's over now. I'm terrified of him touching me. It sends chills down my spine. My master told me to return to the embroidered spring pavilion to rest. I rose silently, not daring to brush off the dust, and left with my head bowed. As I walked toward the embroidered spring pavilion, my hand instinctively reached for my neck, but the familiar touch was gone. Did Lysander just snatch the jade pendant my mother left me? Without hesitation, I immediately retraced my steps. Soon after, a faint hum of a sword echoed from above. Looking up, I saw my master's figure already soaring away on his sword, leaving only a wisp of sword light across the horizon. Perhaps I can retrieve my belongings unnoticed while no one's around. It's just a flawed jade that even my despicable brother and sister-in-law wouldn't spare a glance for. Disciples of immortal sects, accustomed to divine treasures, wouldn't give it a second look. Yet to me, It holds immeasurable significance, standing outside the master's chamber. Thinking it empty, I was about to push the door open. Suddenly, voices came from within. Eldest brother, what's wrong? You're not still upset with little sister, are you? She must have had her reasons. Now that she's back, let's not hold it against her. Lysander's icy voice cut through the air. As long as she stops her willful ways, I'm willing to let bygones be bygones. I let out a self-deprecating chuckle. Turns out, a headstrong woman's endless pleas can't match two honeyed words from a sweet-talking damsel, pressing my lips together. I turned to leave, then came the sound of the door opening. It was second senior sister, Myra. What else do you need? Startled, I murmured in a low voice, senior sister, I lost a jade pendant. Could you let me in to look for it? This one. Vale emerged from inside, toying with the very pendant I was searching for. I nervously stepped forward, reaching out to reclaim it. Vale nimbly dodged out of the way. Little Marshall sister. Why the rush? Could this shoddy trinket really be yours? Their tattered appearance only accentuated the celestial splendor of these treasure-laden immortal sect disciples, didn't it? Therefore, it's mine, no doubt about it. I knew exactly what kind of person Vale was, and without thinking I lunged forward to snatch it. But before I could reach her, a loud bang sounded as the jade pendant exploded in her hand, scattering into fragments across the floor. I froze in place. Vale dramatically covered her mouth in feigned shock, tears welling up in her eyes. Instantly, little senior sister, I'm so sorry. I truly didn't mean to. I just wanted to ask if this was yours, but you startled me. I never imagined it'd turn out like this. Third senior brother came running over, seeing the shattered pieces on the floor and Vale in tears. He began scolding, Myra, are you out of your damn mind? Don't you know Vale developed PTSD after you pushed him off that cliff? He can't handle shocks. My chest heaved with rage as I swung at Vale, eyes bloodshot. My wrist was caught mid-swing. His grip was so strong it nearly crushed my wrist. Apologize to her. Lysander's voice was icy with restrained fury. Apologize, the last keepsake from my mother, destroyed by her hands. Why is it always me who has to apologize? I looked up dazedly, the disgust in Lysander's eyes sending waves of pain through my chest. The pain had numbed me, so I crouched down and began picking up the fragments, piece by piece. My hands were bleeding from the cuts, yet I barely felt any pain. Stop. Picking them up, Lysander frowned and grabbed my arm. I instinctively flinched at his touch. He tried to step back but landed hard on his backside. Only then did he notice my hands covered in frostbite, swollen and red. Some areas had already festered. A truly gruesome sight. Lysander froze for a moment. I wanted to say it's fine. I'm used to it by now. My hands always get like this in winter. Just worse than usual this year. But I didn't say anything, because he never asked. I lowered my head and kept picking up the broken pieces. Lysander had always been annoyed by my persistence, just like during our cultivation days in the immortal sect. No matter how many times he rejected me, I never gave up. Back then, I thought a prodigy like me would be a fitting match for the future sect leader. It seems I never realized I was troubling him. He didn't stop me again. I took out a silk handkerchief and carefully wrapped the blood-stained jade fragments. When I was 6, my weeping mother fastened it around my neck before sending me up the mountain. Myra, I can't bear to watch your father and brothers sell you into that wretched place. Joining the sect for cultivation may be harsh, but it's not a bad path for you. It's all my fault for being useless. Mother, I don't blame you, but do you know something? That home we once shared, in the end became the very prison that trapped me. Myra, you acted too rashly this time. Junior sister Vale went out of her way to help you find the jade pendant. How could you frighten her like that? Ever since that incident, a destructive force awakens within her whenever she's startled. You can't blame her for this. Second senior sister explained to me. I remained silent. If she says so, then so be it. What does it matter whether I'm upset or not? Myra, cat got your tongue. Hurry up and apologize. Third brother demanded aggressively, tucking the handkerchief into my robe without looking up. I muttered, sorry, just empty words I say all the time. What's one more apology? Lysander scoffed. If you're so reluctant, why say it at all? Such a performance, just trying to make us think she's been wronged. The third brother said coldly, if you've suffered so much, why not just die? What's the point crawling back here? I pressed my lips together and turned to leave. When I reached the embroidered spring pavilion, the door stood ajar. Exhausted, I didn't give it much thought. As I stepped inside, I saw a figure standing by the window with their back to me. Hearing the noise, the person turned around. It was Lysander. I froze, instinctively wondering if I'd upset him again somehow, but I just trudged all the way down from Master's Mountain Peak. How could I possibly have energy for anything else? If someone's already staying at Embroidered Spring Pavilion, I can find other accommodations. I turned to leave. Lysander was quicker, slamming the door shut with one hand while grabbing me with the other. His movements carried an undeniable force. My weakened fingers couldn't withstand the struggle, forcing me to relent after a few futile pushes. Terror gripped me. The mere thought of further entanglement with him spelled utter catastrophe. At your age, most common folk would already be married. No, I stared at him blankly. How strange. He never used to stand this close to me before. Why is there so much physical contact between us since his return? Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference between loving someone and hating them. 5. I am indeed married now, senior brother. Could you let go first? No wonder. His voice was hoarse, as if suppressing some emotion. So this is your reaction upon hearing about my upcoming marriage with Vale? I lowered my eyelids, concealing the amusement in my eyes, and replied indifferently, yes, I really want to laugh at him, but I'm afraid of getting punched. Can only snicker behind his back. Lysander's eyes darkened as he stared at me, enunciating each word. Then why did you come back? Here, the master summoned me back to the sect. I replied numbly. Lysander frowned in displeasure. He gripped my chin, forcing me to look up. His lips curled into a mocking smile. Aren't you tired of spouting these hollow words day in and day out? I shook my head. I mean what I say. If I promise not to pester you, I won't. But you, senior brother, what exactly do you want from me? Why do you loathe me yet refuse to let go? Lysander choked on my words, his face darkening. Myra, who gave you permission to speak to me like that? His grip tightened around my wrist. A fresh wave of fear washed over me. Suddenly I remembered that day 5 years ago when I fled from Chin village and begged him to take me in. He said I must either kneel and apologize to Vale, or our next meeting would be my death. He always keeps his word. Not even our master could intervene. I drew a nervous breath and lowered my head. Senior brother, I swear I don't love you anymore. Please, just let me go. I thought such solemn gestures would please him. But his expression darkened abruptly. Oh, he sneered, shoving me away. Let's hope so. Watching him leave, my legs finally gave way beneath me. Someone who despises me this much would surely torture me endlessly before taking my life. I don't want to die by his hand. It'd be too excruciating. Inside the Embroidered Spring Pavilion, everything remained unchanged. I chose this place as my abode for no other reason than its proximity to Lysander's sword pavilion. Given the choice, I wouldn't have moved back here. Half a month passed since Master left. I've no idea where he went. Has he forgotten how the sect forced me to take spirit sealing pills after crippling my cultivation, just to prevent me from practicing again? The spirit sealing pill can block a cultivator's spiritual energy circulation, making it taboo among immortal practitioners. Once ingested, it builds an impenetrable dam against spiritual currents. Even atop this cloud-piercing peak saturated with spiritual energy, I can't sense the faintest ripple of power. I simply can't comprehend it. If you had no intention of helping me expel the spirit sealing pill, why summon me back at all? Those who cannot cultivate hold no worth in the Azure Cloud Immortal sect. At least the place I most wish to visit now is the Vale of Withering Blossoms. Then it matters little if Master has forgotten. I thought my peaceful days would last a while longer. After all, I kept my word and never showed myself before Lysander and Vale again. Not a day passed without me wishing for their swift marriage, so no one would worry about me causing trouble. That day, as I pored over ancient tomes in the corner, searching for a way into Witherbloom Gorge, enlightenment began to dawn. Looking up, I saw my master soaring past on his flying sword. My heart leapt with joy, and I made to seek him out. Vale kicked open the doors of Embroidered Spring Pavilion, sent me flying just as I was about to open the door. That fall undid all the recovery from my fortnight of bed rest. I coughed uncontrollably, flecks of blood appearing. Vale strode over, suddenly grabbing my collar to yank me close. You wretched woman, what did you say to Lysander? Why would he postpone the wedding? After coughing violently, I barely managed to whisper, this has nothing to do with me. Don't you dare lie to me. Vale's finger nearly jabbed into my face. Lysander never breaks his promises. The moment you returned, he delayed everything. Don't pretend you're not behind this. My smile didn't reach my eyes. If I could truly influence him even slightly, would I be in this state today? A glint of mockery flashed in Vale's eyes. Ha, at least you know your place. How tedious, knowing my master had returned. I saw no point in dragging this out any longer. May I leave now? I asked. No, Myra, you were once the most gifted disciple of the celestial sect. Even Lysander could barely match you. Surely you understand that in our sect, those who don't cultivate are nothing but trash. No, you knew. Then why the hell are you still shamelessly clinging around here? I was just about to consult Master. She nodded with a derisive snort. Her dimples danced with particular vivacity. 6. No wonder you're everyone's sweetheart. Shall we seek Master's permission? Tisk. Master always goes into seclusion for months upon returning. By the time you hike up there, it might be too late. Why not? Attend to me first. Put me in a good mood, and I might just take you up the mountain. The absurdity of those words tumbling from her delicate frame was almost comical. I couldn't help but laugh. Hadn't she gotten everything she wanted, including my apology? Why couldn't she just let me go? I asked point blank. Why don't you just kill me? She chuckled. Why would I? We need you to witness my wedding with Lysander in person. Your blessing means everything to us. I replied impassively. I've given my blessings more than enough times. With that, I turned and walked away. The moment I looked up, Lysander walked in, without a word. I sidestepped past him and made to leave, but he reminded me, Vale didn't dismiss you. My steps faltered, a lump formed in my throat, dry and painful. After a long pause, I murmured, fine, I'll serve you. Vale clapped her hands cheerfully and took a seat in the hall. I stepped forward deliberately. She pointed at her shoulder and said, Little Marshall sister, give me a shoulder rub first. This cultivation training has been exhausting me lately. I didn't budge. The man beside me was staring daggers at me, as if waiting to see what I'd actually do. I had no intention of speculating, reached out directly to massage Vale's shoulders. The woman closed her eyes contentedly, humming a little tune. Lysander pressed his lips tightly together. Inexplicably sullen, he turned away with deliberate force, with only a hurried, meet me at Cloud Mist Terrace in half an hour. He strode off. Got it. Vale called back. He was gone. I let out a sigh of relief too, which means she'd only torture me for an hour at most. Worthless. Did a dog eat your strength? The moment they left, Vale dropped the act without hesitation. The cup shattered violently at my feet. Flying shards cut into my ankle, drawing blood. Worthless brat. 5 years in the mountains, and you still don't know how to serve your betters. She spun around and drove her foot straight into my solar plexus. I cried out in pain as my body toppled backward, the back of my head smashing hard against the stone steps. You bitch, quit faking death. She raised her foot to kick again when an icy voice snapped her to a halt. Lifting my head, I saw third senior brother striding toward us with a deep frown. Little brother. Vale clearly didn't expect the third senior brother to show up so suddenly, looking slightly flustered. After all, she was summoned back by Master. Don't go too far. Vale pouted in displeasure. What? Feeling protective of her now, little brother. Breaking from her usual understanding nature, Vale found a reasonable outlet for her frustration. Elder Marshall brother, I didn't want it to come to this, but Lysander postponed the wedding because she's been sowing discord between us. I'm truly furious. Hearing this, the third Marshall brother's expression softened slightly. The explanation was accepted as perfectly logical. He accepted the fact that I'd done wrong. He silently helped me up without a word. 7. With a harsh tone, not dead yet. I shook my head, wanting to say I was fine, but the moment I opened my mouth, I uncontrollably coughed up blood. Third brother's expression changed slightly as he hurriedly carried me into the inner room and laid me on the bed. Flustered, he tried to wipe the blood from my lips, but I abruptly seized his wrist. I'm fine. Spitting blood and still acting fine. Couldn't you have died sooner or later? Had to pick this exact moment to croak. What terrible luck. Third brother's tone was dripping with impatience, looking as if he wished I'd drop dead on the spot. He checked my pulse but detected nothing. Fine then, he must have forgotten. My exceptional talent lies in concealing my spiritual veins. In our entire sect, only my master and his sworn brother could discern my pulse condition. Otherwise, they wouldn't have competed to take me as their disciple back then. The third senior brother's expression darkened as he turned to leave. I'll fetch the alchemist. Once he left, Vale shot me an amused glance. Well, still planning to see the master looking like that. I coughed up blood. Take me there. There's no way my body could reach my master's chambers before nightfall, before the goo worms rob me of my senses. I must hurry. Hurry into the Vale of Withering, and only my master knows how to enter that place. I can't figure this out on my own anymore. My head must have taken a knock. Everything's swimming, staggering off the back of Vale's sword. I finally realized she deceived me. She brought me to Mistvale Terrace, the martial arena of the Azure Cloud. Immortal Sect. Just then, second senior sister had barely touched down from the stage, marking her defeat. Spotting the two of us, she immediately trotted over and clamped onto my arm with a death grip. Myra, are you trying to get yourself killed? Don't you know what kind of place this is? What the hell are you doing here? What are you doing here? I have no idea. Vale's eyes reddened first. Second senior sister. Little senior sister seems not quite right. I meant to take her to see master, but eldest senior brother sent me here instead. I couldn't be in two places at once, so I brought her along. Is that so? If we'd flown by sword, she could have easily dropped me at master's place first. Gasping for breath, I struggled to cut in. Vale pressed on. Second sister, what's happened here? The neighboring sect came for a challenge, second sister said grimly. A martial arts challenge? No wonder second senior sister looked so nervous when she saw me, a useless disciple like me, showing up here. Getting beaten to death would be the least of our worries, but shaming our sect, that's unforgivable. After second senior sister was knocked off the platform, the situation was teetering on the edge of chaos. A Brahm Buddhist cultivator shouted excitedly from the stage, "Is this all you've got? Bring out the most talented cultivator in your entire sect to face me, in the Azure Cloud Immortal Sect. The most gifted after me 5 years ago would be Lysander, but as the heir to the sect leader, one must never reveal their true capabilities unless absolutely necessary. Since I was 10, the arena has been where I wrote my legend, though now, I doubt anyone remembers who I was." Vale nudged my shoulder. "Isn't our junior sister the most gifted disciple of Azure Cloud Sect? Word has it you put Brahm in bed for months after beating him senseless 5 years ago. Why not teach that fool another lesson, senior sister?" My wandering thoughts snapped back to reality, lifting my gaze toward the ranting monk on stage. So it was him. As I withdrew my stare, Lysander unexpectedly caught my eye in the distance. He knew Vale had just made an amusing suggestion, yet chose to remain silent. 8. I let out a bitter chuckle and lowered my head. I listened quietly as my second senior sister earnestly urged me to leave first. She was quite the character too. Doesn't she know Cloud Mist Peak pierces the heavens with sheer cliffs on all sides? I can't wield a flying sword. There's no way down, even though elder sister lost her cultivation. With her talent she must have regained some power in these 5 years away. She couldn't possibly be so weak as to get bullied. Elder sister, you'd be in your element if you returned to the arena, wouldn't you? Vale joked around casually, as if my life meant nothing. I forced a smile through the creeping pain of the immortality goo. Fine, I'll go. I borrowed a sword from my second senior sister. Struggling against her half-hearted attempts to stop me, I dragged myself to the arena's edge. The platform was too high. I didn't even have the strength to climb up. Brahm doubled over laughing, gasping for breath. That's it. Is the Azure Cloud Sect really this desperate? Of course not. There's still Lysander. He could shut him up with half a move. I instinctively turned to look at Lysander, but he remained silent. Does it not matter even if the Azure Cloud Immortal Sect is insulted? Fine. I won't beg him anymore. I won't beg anyone. The longevity goo is acting up again. It knows I'm going to my death. It seemed to be forcing me toward Lysander, begging him to save me. No, I frantically felt for the silk-wrapped jade fragment hidden against my chest. Whenever the pain became unbearable, I'd touch the jade pendant mother gave me. It's like she's comforting me, and it works like magic every time. But now, it seems to have lost its effect. 9. Clinging to my last shred of sanity, I hastily climbed onto the ring. Brahm, I roared with conviction, remember me, Myra, the one who knocked your teeth out 5 years ago. Care for a rematch? I gasped for air, the metallic taste in my throat. I must be coughing up blood again. I swallowed it all to avoid drawing attention. My heart sank. Brahm froze in shock. You? He studied me intently, as if searching for traces of the girl who'd bested him 5 years ago. But there was no match, not even close. He burst into maniacal laughter. Had you not mentioned it, I'd have forgotten that humiliating defeat. That little brat only won by sheer luck back then. Where is she now? Bring her out. I'll settle the score once and for all. This time I'll wipe away that disgrace. Knowing his disbelief, I publicly recounted the details of his crushing defeat. Remember when my heart's echo sword fingertip struck your shoulder? You lunged at me like a madman, only to faceplant off the arena. Still recall that epic pratfall. My master left, Bram's smile froze. Are you really Myra? I gave a cold laugh, scared. If you want revenge, show me what you've got. Kill me. Enraged, he unleashed an overwhelming aura of power. Undaunted, I met his gaze and advanced step by step toward him. He tried to keep taunting, but couldn't hold back a mouthful of blood. The crowd below was stunned. It's the goo worms controlling me. Proud and arrogant men like Bram. His target was none other than the elite disciples of the sect. Seeing a sickly wretch like me step onto the arena, he must have felt utterly humiliated. Blinded by rage, he drove his fist straight into my gut. The impact sent me flying. My body felt like it had been floating forever. Then came the brutal impact with the frozen ground. Pain exploded through every fiber of my being. Bram stormed toward me. Pathetic. This is what happens when you cross me. The parasitic worm is trying to take over my body to escape, shattered beyond repair. My attempt to stand was stiff and clumsy. Each step felt like trudging through quicksand, leaden and draining. Bram's sneer echoed in my ear. Still fighting back. Then take another hit. The crushing blow sent me tumbling off the arena in disgrace, vomiting blood. My vision blurred as the world spun around me. In my dazed state, I felt Lysander grab my collar and lift my limp body from the ground. Once again, I found myself in close proximity to the man I'd longed for yet could never touch. Being this close to him feels like standing at death's door. So he's the king of hell, isn't he? I felt a smile tug at my lips. I never begged you, did I? I won't beg him anymore, no more. Pleading for his glance. 10 years of that was enough. I'm done begging him to believe in my innocence. Never again will I ask to stay by his side. I won't beg him to save me from this hell anymore. An indescribable sense of relief washed over me. You'd be happy if I just died like this, wouldn't you? The arms holding me suddenly went rigid. My heartbeat against his chest seemed to fall out of rhythm, yet all I heard was, "Did you really think I'd care if you lived or died?" Cold and cruel, of course. I'd known all along. He never cared about me, not even basic concern from a senior to his junior, nothing at all. Why on earth? I weakly closed my eyes. Myra, don't you dare die. A muffled roar echoed in my ears, then I could hear no more. In my dazed state, I felt someone force a medicinal pill into my mouth, but I couldn't swallow it no matter how hard I tried. I finally came to, spitting out the half-dissolved elixir I'd been holding in my mouth. Not a soul in sight. Heard faint voices while unconscious. The master must have summoned all inner disciples before his seclusion. Only when night fell did I hear knocking at the door. It was a junior disciple I didn't recognize. Senior Sister Myra, the first disciple, instructed me to deliver this. He handed me a long, rectangular object wrapped in multiple layers of brocade. The weight felt substantial, and even through the fabric, I could sense a faint but razor-sharp sword aura. That's my Azure Cloud sword. In the demon-slaying war, I wielded it alongside Lysander to cut down fiends. As I gently caressed the blade, it hummed in response, as if answering my touch. But this sword, wasn't that the year I left the mountain, when it became Vale's property? The sect will conduct special beast taming training the day after tomorrow. All inner disciples and selected outer disciples must attend beast taming training. The junior brother delivering the sword looked at my frail state with concern and said, "Senior Sister Myra, there's no exemption list this year. You should prepare yourself." Speechless and utterly drained, I forced a faint smile. Understood. Thanks for letting me know. The junior disciple hesitated briefly before carefully opening his storage pouch, producing the finest elixir within his means. He murmured instructions. "Senior sister, take this with you. It can heal wounds in emergencies." I shook my head in polite refusal. These were all obtained through their cultivation journey by trading premium spirit stones. I can't accept unearned rewards. Besides, they'd be completely useless to me anyway. The master entered seclusion again, and I never got to see him. Then came this sudden beast taming training session. Everyone thought swallowing that elixir would cure me completely. Does even my master not know I won't recover? Was I not exempt from the beast taming trials? As long as the spirit sealing pill remains in my body, the potency of any mid to high grade elixir will be compromised. When the energies clash, they churn violently within me. The pain is enough to make one wish for death. That's why I spat out the remaining half of the elixir the moment I regained consciousness. On the day of beast taming training, the parasitic worms inside me grew restless. They sensed their host's impending danger. Clenching my teeth, I followed a few outer sect disciples toward the back mountains. True enough, within just a few steps I was completely left behind. The moment I sat down to rest, a mutated spirit Beast suddenly lunged straight at me. In panic, I raised my sword to block. Its demonic claws scraped past the blade and tore into half my face, ripping flesh clean off. Compelled by the eternal goo's influence, my lips betrayed me with a desperate cry, "Help!" The next instant, a gleaming sword pierced the beast's eye, blood splattered across my body. Dazed, I looked up to see Lysander towering over me, his long sword in hand and contempt in his gaze. The blade's tip still dripped with the monster's blood. I propped myself up with my sword for a few seconds before collapsing. After a long silence, Lysander finally asked, "Didn't you take your medicine?" He studied my face, streaked with blood and grime, waiting for my response. I was about to say, "Elixirs are useless for me. My current constitution can't possibly meet the requirements for beast taming training," but he lost his patience. He snapped, "Myra, you'll stoop to anything for sympathy, won't you?" Pathetic, flinging a vial of pills to the ground in anger, he stormed off with his sword. I paused briefly before picking up the medicine vial, pouring all the elixir into the mouth of the dying magical beast beside me. When the day ended, I remained the only inner sect disciple who failed to tame a spirit beast. In the sect's grand hall, whispers reached my ears. "What an absolute disgrace. Can't even tame the weakest spirit beast. You're not worthy of joining our Azure Sky sect. I'd make a better inner disciple than her any day." Though my robes were tattered and bloodstained, I kept my back straight with stubborn pride. These idle rumors are nothing but irritating noise. How could they possibly harm me? If not for the longevity goo's compulsion, I'd never have set foot in this hall. I'd sooner sleep eternally on the back mountain and let the beasts claim me. Second sister approached. "Your face. Are you all right?" I shook my head. "No." Uncle Mordecai dismissed the second senior sister and demanded sternly, "Myra, how do you explain this?" I could only manage a bitter smile. Was it really necessary for the entire sect to play dumb just to deal with little old me? The beast taming trial was always meant to select gifted disciples for training. It's about how many you tame, not whether you succeed. They forced me into this trial knowing full well I couldn't possibly complete the beast taming task, then branded me with the shame of being the first failure in our sect's history, making me endure the entire order's condemnation. What could they possibly gain? Seeing my prolonged silence, an elder barked sharply, "Myra, you took the field without being on the beast taming roster. This isn't just about failing to control spiritual beasts. It's outright disrespect to our sect." My lips parted to explain, but the words died unspoken. "I know they won't believe me no matter what I say." Just then, a clear voice rang through the hall. "Senior Sister Myra, you're fully aware of your physical condition. Why insist on participating, the only disciple in our sect's history to fail a beast taming mission? How could Master meditate in peace if he knew?" Vale stood among the crowd, righteously denouncing me. Suddenly, I remembered that junior disciple who came to deliver the Azure Cloud sword that day. Their accusations only confirmed my suspicions. Actually, I was on the exemption list. In the end, someone just wanted to see me make a fool of myself on stage. But what good would knowing that do me anyway? "Myra, do you have anything else to say?" Master Uncle asked again. At this point, I've no intention of offering any explanations. The Azure Cloud sword in my hand gave a faint tremble. It seemed to be urging me onward. Fight harder. Struggle once more. I raised my head, the mangled half of my face twisting into a ghastly grin. "Elder, the reason I stepped forward is because someone informed me I wasn't exempt from the beast taming mission." A wave of murmurs immediately swept through the crowd. The elder's voice carried suspicion. Who would dare do such a thing? I scanned the area but couldn't spot the junior disciple who delivered the Azure Cloud sword to me. "He's not here." "Myra, are you trying to shirk responsibility?" Third senior brother sneered as he advanced toward me step by step. "First you recklessly charged onto the martial platform and got severely injured. Then you flagrantly violated sect rules to participate in the beast taming trial. How is this any different from courting death? Do you really think people will pity you just because you're gambling with your own body?" Lifted the sword expressionlessly. "The Azure Cloud sword is in my hand. That's proof enough. Do you really think this broken body of mine could have snatched it from Vale by force? Someone delivered it to me and tasked me with joining the beast taming mission. I thought I had solid reasoning, yet everyone still assumed I was making excuses." Second senior sister tugged at my sleeve and said disapprovingly, "Myra, since eldest senior brother already exempted you from the beast taming mission, why must you still go? You even stole Vale's Azure Cloud sword, cutting her beast taming count by half this year." Her words stabbed through my heart. if she doesn't believe me, who else would? 10. I desperately tried to speak again when an icy voice cut me off. Save your explanations, Lysander, who had arrived belatedly, was now standing right behind me. My body stiffened as I instinctively took a step forward, desperate to escape the icy aura radiating from him. Lysander, since you're here, as the senior disciple, you shall handle your sect's affairs. All 5 disciples from our martial uncle's lineage have excelled in this trial. He's rather reluctant to get involved in our sect's internal matters, not to mention when I first showed promise. It was clearly him who chose to take me as his disciple, yet for Lysander's sake, I resolutely chose to follow my master even among immortal cultivators. There are petty souls. My martial uncle was exactly such a man. He never treated me with much warmth. Now they wouldn't even speak a word in my defense. Lysander approached me with righteous indignation. Myra defied the exemption decree and participated in the trials without permission, bringing disgrace upon our house. She deserves 81 lashes of the thunder whip. With that, he raised his whip. The blinding flash made me instinctively step back. He spoke coldly. This is the path you chose, Myra. Time to drop the act. Every glance and gesture of his now radiated icy ruthlessness. Tears welled up as I choked out, "No, please." Before I could finish speaking, the lightning whip came crashing down. Charred scar instantly seared across my flesh. I let out a piercing scream. My body began trembling uncontrollably. I begged him to stop, screamed for help, pleaded my innocence. Yet he never relented. The lashes came faster and faster, each strike more brutal than the last. Every whip stroke felt like it would tear me apart limb from limb. For one terrifying moment, I felt my very soul being flayed from my body. Lysander, I beg. No, I won't beg you. He paused mid-motion, crouching to grip my throat. Beg me. His grip was choking me into unconsciousness, yet I refused to beg. The grip on her neck loosened for just a second before the lash came down once, twice. Eldest brother, that's enough. Third brother rushed forward. She'll die. Lysander spiraled out of control. Deaf to all warnings, move. With a furious roar, he continued lashing out. 81 lashes. What an eternity. Consciousness finally began to fade. I've lost track of how long I've been lying here. The pain jolted me awake. The alchemist force-fed me potent elixirs, yet their effects remained negligible. Through the haze, I caught his murmured lament. Lightning lash wounds should heal with high-grade elixirs after the initial torment. Why won't this girl's body respond? She's in for prolonged suffering. I'm just grateful the alchemist's elixir didn't react with the spirit sealing pill already in my system. At least I was spared the agony of internal and external torment combined. When I opened my eyes, I felt slightly better than during the torture. I croaked my thanks to the alchemist. He asked with genuine curiosity, "Your condition seems different from the other disciples. Would you mind explaining in detail?" Lysander had somehow appeared by the bedside, leaning down to study me. His gaze was cold enough to freeze blood. "Lysander, these are external medicines. Her case is special. Internal injuries have healed less than 10%, and we can only treat the external wounds slowly with folk remedies." "Why?" The alchemist glanced at me and sighed, shaking his head. "Because she's taken a spirit-sealing pill. Any elixir she ingests now would be utterly useless." Lysander eyed me skeptically. "A spirit-sealing pill?" I averted his gaze, pulling the blanket tighter around myself as I curled into a ball. "Isn't the soul-sealing pill common knowledge?" "He's certainly putting on a convincing act." The alchemist shook his head hesitantly. "The symptoms suggest so, but the only way to confirm the soul-sealing pill's presence is to force it out using the sect's 8 trigrams array." "Says who?" Vale burst through the door. "Master told me the soul-sealing pill can be detected with a pure spirit pearl. Just place it on her forehead. If the pill's inside her, the pearl will glow." "Stop this nonsense. The pure spirit orb still carries residual demonic energy." "Eldest brother," Vale cut him off, "the pure spirit orb was spoils from the demon-slaying war. It rightfully belongs to our sect, yet Uncle Mordecai hoards it, and Master turns a blind eye. Are we to be denied its use when needed?" Lysander paused, then turned to the alchemist. "No alternatives." The alchemist shook his head. "The orb remains tainted by demonic essence. Caution is paramount. I recommend employing the 8 trigrams formation instead." The 8 trigrams formation requires 8 elders, including our master and his fellow disciples, to channel their spiritual energy simultaneously. Gathering everyone is already difficult enough. If junior sister doesn't actually have the spirit sealing pill within her, Wouldn't this just waste everyone's time? Besides, our venerable master is in seclusion. Surely we shouldn't disturb his meditation over such an uncertain matter. After Vale's words, the alchemist fell silent. No need for such trouble. I said slowly, whether I carried the spirit sealing pill or not, aren't you already well? Aware of the truth, Vale's expression darkened. What nonsense are you spouting? How would I know if you've got a spirit sealing pill inside you? If you don't know, then assume there isn't one. Why go through all this trouble testing me? If they wanted to purge my core, they wouldn't have waited till now. Had they truly intended to cleanse my dantian, they'd have realized letting Myra continue cultivating would be a terrible decision. Vale turned pale and was about to speak when Lysander snapped first. Vale did this for the sect's sake. You're being utterly ungrateful. I closed my eyes and said no more. Indeed, ever since the moment I was brought back to the sect, I was doomed to spend the rest of my life atoning for sins that never existed, unworthy of speech. The alchemist left topical medicine. My second senior sister offered to apply the ointment, but I politely declined. She abruptly changed tack, urging me to apologize to Vale. The Azure Cloud sect possesses only one soul sealing pill, the sacred treasure under Vale's guardianship. By saying that, aren't you slapping her in the face, implying she lost the sect's treasure? Have you forgotten? You've yet to atone for pushing her off the cliff that year. You shouldn't have lied like that. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. 11. How did this become my lie again? The soul-sealing pill was what Master brought for me to take at that time. Even if the Master didn't inform his disciples, how could a treasure go missing for 5 whole years without anyone noticing? Back when I guarded the soul-protecting elixir, the moment it was out of my sight for just 2 hours, so-called witnesses immediately accused me of stealing it, and they all actually believed it. The lightning whip punishment is already the lightest sentence. Given your unique constitution, it's normal for spiritual medicine to be ineffective. Just wait until Master emerges from seclusion. He'll examine you properly. I lay quietly on the bed, ignoring her. The door suddenly swung open. Lysander entered carrying a bowl of medicine. Approaching the bedside, he told the second senior sister, "Go check on Vale. He's throwing a tantrum." The moment second senior sister left, I began feeling unwell. I hastily pulled my thin outer garment tighter around myself. I sat up to take the medicine bowl from his hands, but Lysander deftly avoided me. He looked down at me with icy detachment. "Want your medicine?" I wanted the medicine, yet dreaded his approach. The eternal goo's power made my will far more tenacious than ordinary beings. Within misfortune lies fortune's seed. What might have happened had Myra in her prime possessed this eternal goo? Beg me. The man arched a brow, capturing my full attention. Without hesitation, I withdrew my hand. He then raised his other hand, thinking he was about to strike me. I instinctively shut my eyes. A long moment passed, but no stinging slap came to the unharmed side of my face. Only an icy sensation brushed against my skin. I couldn't suppress a shudder. His hand was freezing cold. "You know what?" he sneered. "What I despise most is your holier-than-thou attitude. People change." Didn't he hate it when I used to pester him with fiery passion? His grip tightened gradually, making my cheeks ache. I clenched my teeth to stifle any sound. After a tense standoff, he finally relented and handed me the medicine bowl. I threw my head back and downed the bitter concoction in one gulp. "Finished. I need to rest now." Lysander looked at me, raising his hand to wipe the medicine stain from my lips, but I turned my head away. He froze for a moment, then let out a cold laugh before turning to leave. Watching his retreating figure, I secretly breathed a sigh of relief. After days of recuperation, I was suddenly escorted to the Celestial Terrace Gardens. This is where the sect holds wedding ceremonies and grand rituals. The postponed wedding has now resumed as scheduled. Vale said only such significant events could summon all the sect elders back. Within the Celestial Gardens, an aura of serenity and mystery lingers. Once, I too dreamed of standing here with Lysander, bound in matrimony. Back then, my heart and eyes held only him, to stand shoulder to shoulder with him, walking the endless path of immortal cultivation hand in hand. Vale looked utterly charming in her crimson bridal gown, yet Lysander remained clad in his plain robe, aloof and indifferent. I couldn't fathom his intentions, nor did I care to know. Before the ceremony commenced, someone brought forth the ethereal pearl. The faintly glowing blue bead looked utterly ordinary, though I sensed no demonic aura from it. An inner voice kept warning me, this was no common trinket. Vale flashed an angelic smile. "My apologies, senior sister Myra." Wait, before I could stop her, She pressed the soul-cleansing pearl forcefully against my forehead. A searing pain shot through my brow. My soul felt like it was being torn apart, yet the pearl remained ominously dark. Knew it. This thing could never detect the spirit-sealing pill inside me. Veil just wants to torment me. Master once said the pure spirit pearl is inherently immaculate. It naturally purges dark energies when removed from the demonic abyss. It simply takes time and patience. But should it ever come into contact with the depths of a human soul during this period, it will voraciously drain the most primal and pure emotions from the human body, using humanity to expel demonic nature. If once humanity is drained, they become like a walking corpse. Don't want to lose myself. I didn't respond. If the immortality parasite within me runs wild without my conscious control, I'll spend the rest of my life groveling and begging. I refuse to live such a pathetic existence. I struggled, trying to push Veil away. No, I gasped involuntarily. Stop. Veil's grin widened with cruel delight as he watched me writhe in agony. Lysander, I beg you. My desperate gaze locked onto his, clinging to fading hope. Please, believe me. A flicker of conflict passed through the man's knitted brows. Seizing the moment, Veil goaded, elder brother, the pure spirit pearl is a sacred artifact. It would never harm anyone. Lysander halted mid-step, the hesitation in his eyes vanishing instantly. Just endure a little longer. If we confirm the spirit-sealing pill is truly within you, I'll request Master and the elders to activate the formation and expel it from your body. Is that so? But it's too late now. I weakly closed my eyes. Someone gasped. Look, the spirit pearl is glowing faintly. Amid the chaos, the pearl's radiance suddenly condensed into a streak of light and shot into my body. My eyes widened in shock. I tried to scream, but no sound escaped my throat. It feels like my body is being torn apart. The pain is unbearable. Myra, Lysander cried out, trying to rush forward but was stopped by Veil. The spirit pearl is conducting its final scan. If you disrupt its energy field recklessly, she'll suffer backlash. But I could no longer make out what they were saying. All I knew was the pain. Something flashed through my mind, then vanished completely. I remember how Mother sent me up the mountain, those people's eyes veiled with faint disdain, until second senior sister came to fetch me. So from age 10 onward, every spiritual treasure I won in the martial arena, I gave them all to her. Even the peerless azure abyss sword I stood upon when she retrieved me from Chin village, I'd seized it at 16 after 9 grueling battles from that swordsman dubbed Meteor Shadow. Its power and sentience far surpassed my own verdant cloud sword. I remember the year when our stubborn yet diligent third senior brother was expelled from the sect by our master due to his volatile temper. I made a wager with the master. If I could tame the high-tier snow wolf atop the mountain, third senior brother would be allowed to return later. I returned battered and bruised, clutching the bloodied pelt of the snow wolf in one hand and leading third senior brother with the other. Kneeling on the stone steps of the inner courtyard, I said, Master, I've brought third senior brother home. The master stood at the temple gate, his expression grave yet his eyes betraying a hint of approval. I recalled those days when I clung to Lysander out of admiration, transitioning from naive innocence to the first stirrings of affection. Truth be told, I had long surpassed the bottleneck that even Lysander couldn't break through, but I chose not to outshine him, so no one in the sect ever knew. My master once mentioned the practice of dual cultivation. It's particularly beneficial for male cultivators who've hit a plateau in their training. Perfect timing. I think I've fallen for him. If he'd practiced dual cultivation with me, it would greatly advance his spiritual progress. But when I proposed it, he called me shameless. What is shame? Seeing no way forward, I sought one final audience with my master before having my cultivation revoked and being cast out from the mountain. I knew Lysander's proud nature would make him reluctant to accept charity from others, so I begged my master to seal a portion of his cultivation within a spirit-locking pearl, that I might deliver it to Lysander and aid his breakthrough. I remember those days and nights of the demon-slaying war, when Lysander and I led our immortal sect disciples through blood-soaked battles. He stood steadfast by my side, fearless and unshaken. I recall him battling demon lords while I stormed their lairs. We rescued our fellow disciples and students from other sects held captive by the fiends. I recall how my spiritual essence resonated with the pure spirit pearl, accidentally claiming this ancient artifact. I remember the fallen demon lord casting a sinister curse upon Lysander with his dying breath. I threw myself before Lysander to intercept that malevolent beam, only to discover it was the 10,000 poisons curse. I recollect 2 years of seclusion, purging countless parasites, yet the eternal goo remained indomitable. I recalled how after emerging from seclusion, there was a delicate stand-in junior sister. Lysander shielded her protectively behind him. My memories became fragmented, consciousness slipping away. Vale stowed away the pure spirit orb, she declared. The pure spirit orb didn't glow. That proves no soul-sealing pill exists. She's lying. I clutched my head and crouched down in agony. Something was gnawing at my brain. 12. What's wrong with her? Someone asked. Vale glared at me coldly, still pretending. You think this act will get you off the hook? Voices rose in jeering agreement. Exactly. Such brazen lies demand severe punishment. How else will sect discipline be maintained? If she goes unpunished, none of us can focus on cultivation. Shall we just watch her flaunt the rules? Senior brother, strike now. I shook my head violently, trying to dispel the disorienting, hallucinatory void. Seeing something amiss, second sister reached for me, Myra, mistaking her for the Grim Reaper. I jerked away violently, my undergarment tore from the frantic struggle, revealing in an instant not just whip marks, but countless old scars, burns, falls, and knife wounds. Horrifying sight. I heard gasps from the crowd as second sister startled, hastily draping her outer robe over me. Then the Qingling pearl suddenly broke free, rising into the air with a blinding radiance. What's happening? Why is the pure spirit pearl acting up? Look. It's senior sister Myra's memories. What? So back then, Vale saw the head disciple coming and jumped off the cliff himself. Myra never pushed him. She never even went to the embroidered spring pavilion back then. Why did she testify that Myra stole from her own sect? Think about it. When Vale damaged her heart meridian years ago, how could she keep cultivating unless she'd stolen the Soul Guard elixir? She actually forged the master's orders to force senior sister Myra to take the spirit sealing pill. No wonder Myra couldn't cultivate for 5 years and suffered such abuse from her brother's family. After the head disciple went into seclusion, Vale secretly set up a barrier around her home to prevent escape, leaving her at the mercy of those. The head disciple entrusted the voice-transmitting stone to Vale before his seclusion. Why didn't she rescue Myra then, even if she wouldn't act herself? Why not alert the other disciples? They all knew how I'd been ground down by my greedy brother and sister-in-law these 5 years, knew how village men took their turns pinning me down for sport. The constant exposure, the beaten obedience, the gnawing hunger, those unspeakable scenes stripped the last shred of dignity from heaven's favored daughter. I recoiled in terror, with nowhere left to retreat. At last I fell from the sacred altar, plunging into the abyss. Myra, I feel like I've been through some catastrophe, but now I'm awake and my body feels weightless. Everything seems fine, except the surroundings feel unfamiliar. Myra, you're finally awake. A middle-aged man came rushing over in a hurry. Bu Wang rang the spirit bell used by cultivators for emergency summons. In all my years at the Immortal Sect, I've never seen anything like this. That pure spirit pearl actually drew out both the spirit sealing pill and the longevity goo fused with your bloodline. Would you like to see? The middle-aged man placed a small box before me. Inside lay a crystal clear pearl. Beside the pearl, a tiny white worm wriggled faintly. What's this? I turned to the old man with puzzlement. This is the pure spirit pearl, stolen by the demon lord years ago. I suspect he drew upon its power while practicing the 10,000 goo arts. That's why this goo worm resonates with it. I didn't quite follow. The elder fell silent for a moment before continuing. The longevity goo was originally just an ordinary insect from the Miao borderlands, until that demonic cultivator twisted it into something sinister. If not for the pure spirit pearl's accidental intervention, there might truly be no way in this world to purge its corruption. Since it has already merged with your lifeblood, it rightfully belongs to you now. You should attempt to forge a connection with it. See if you can harness its power. I hesitated for a moment before accepting the small box. The beads were beautiful, and the insect was oddly charming. This peculiar beauty filled me with an inexplicable sense of tranquility. I was about to express my thanks when a group of people suddenly barged in. Myra, you're awake. Enough. The man in front staggered toward me. Instinctively, I sidestepped to avoid his touch. For some reason, just seeing this man made my head throb with pain. The pain felt like it surfaced from the depths of memory, yet it remained too vague for me to grasp. His eyes brimmed with strange emotion as he pulled me into a tight embrace. Hit me, curse me, just don't give up on me, please. Begging me. Why are you asking me? I cast a bewildered, pleading glance at the older man. The man's expression darkened as he hastily pulled the person restraining me away. Lysander, hold on. something's not right here. He leaned closer and asked, "Do you know who you are?" I blurted out, "I'm Myra, and I'll become the most powerful disciple of the Azure Cloud sect." "Exactly." The strange man gripped my hand excitedly, saying, "These were your words at 8 years old. After I refused to practice swordplay with you." The stranger's eyes were filled with anguish. I jerked my hand back in alarm. He froze mid-motion. "You're still blaming me?" A wave of inexplicable fear washed over me. I don't even know this person, so why does he make me feel so intensely uncomfortable? Lysander, Myra might have lost her memories because of the pure spirit pearl. The way you're acting now will only frighten her more. His eyes turned red. "Myra, don't you remember me?" I shot another pleading glance at the older man. The older man had no choice but to pull him aside. Behind this weirdo stood two other odd characters. They edged closer with bloodshot eyes, but I turned them away, to avoid distractions. I moved in with Uncle Alchemist. I even took in a one-eyed spirit beast. Its pitch-black fur glistened like ink, with a single remaining eye gleaming with profound azure light. When I first encountered it, the disheveled creature was curled up in a corner of the Elixir Valley. Overcome with compassion, I fed its spirit grains and tended to its wounds. The alchemist uncle told me I'd saved its life once before. Was I really that kind-hearted before? Though it seems karma didn't return the favor. That man named Lysander still comes around. Whenever he sees me slacking off in training, his eyes scream silent despair. A decade has passed, yet my cultivation hasn't progressed an inch. His eyes burned with desperation. "Myra, you must obey and practice the spirit summoning art diligently. Understand? Only then can you regain your memories sooner. Remember me sooner." Meeting his pleading gaze, I pointed my practice sword at him. "What's wrong with me? Why should I even think of you, always forcing me to learn this and that? I just want to study alchemy with Uncle Alchemist." With reddened eyes, he gripped my sword and pressed it against his own chest. He told me to thrust it in hard. That way, he wouldn't feel the pain anymore. I was so terrified that I dropped my sword. "Don't be afraid, Myra," he coaxed me. Then he produced another orb, saying, "If you won't cultivate, at least take this spirit-locking pearl. It contains 90% of my cultivation essence. You can absorb it." I snatched the pearl before he finished speaking and hurled it into the alchemy furnace. "I don't want it." I begged no one. Uncle Alchemist shouted to stop them, but it was already too late. He said this alchemical furnace contained a wisp of samadhi fire that could incinerate all things. The pearl was reduced to ashes, lost beyond recovery. Gods, didn't Lysander just lose 90% of his cultivation? But he didn't seem angry, only a fleeting pallor crossed his face. 13, Myra, it's okay, even if you only have memories from when you were 8, we can get to know each other again. I shook my head. "I don't want to know you. It seems you've done many things to wrong me. The grown-up me won't forgive you, so the 8-year-old me can never know you. Myra, tell your future self. I've settled every score with those who bullied you. Your brother and sister-in-law have paid 1,000-fold. I shook my head and stepped back. "This has nothing to do with me. Tell her yourself." Lysander refused to give up. He took a step closer. "Myra, listen to me. Let me tell you the truth." "All right." The pure spirit pearl was originally our sect's sacred relic, stolen by our martial uncle to curry favor with demons in exchange for benefits. During the demon-slaying war, he discovered your spiritual resonance with the pearl. He feared our alliance would threaten his position in the sect. My kindness toward Vale was merely to prevent him from turning against us before we could overthrow him. After the Soul Guard elixir under your watch was stolen, he intended to punish you with the Soul Piercer. I had no choice but to strip your cultivation first and have Master banish you from the mountain. I truly believed you'd have a better life back home. That's why I deliberately kept you from returning. I knew your pride would never let you kneel and apologize to Vale. That's why I gave you that choice, to return to the mortal world and marry. But when you told me you'd wed another, it felt like I'd lost something precious. After you left, Master went into seclusion, then Vale handed me a spirit-locking pearl. She said it contained half her cultivation, hoping to help me break through. I accepted it. I knew if I didn't grow stronger, I'd stand no chance against martial uncle or protecting our sect. But how could I have been so blind? Half of Vale's power isn't even a tenth of yours. Selfishly, I wondered, if I grew stronger, could I bring you back to me? I thought surely you were training hard too, dreaming of returning to my side soon. But I never dreamed you had a spirit-sealing pill inside you. I only agreed to marry Vale because I thought I owed her a debt. After you returned, I was filled with regret. For the first time, I wanted to be a coward who breaks his promise. I misplaced my trust in others and resented your seemingly yielding yet unyielding attitude. Hurting you again and again, though it was meant as a show for the entire sect, I didn't realize your body was so depleted that you couldn't absorb spiritual medicine. I showed no mercy. That day at Lingtai Immortal Garden, I selfishly wanted to see if you'd stop me. I thought you'd understand when I refused to wear the crimson wedding robes. Myra, please believe me. I know I was wrong. I'm begging you to remember me, to look at me the way you used to. He fell to his knees, choking out his apology between sobs. My head started throbbing again. It felt like I'd once knelt before someone like this too. I kept repeating apologies, begging him to trust me over and over, yet that person remained utterly unmoved. I tried a different approach. Despite all the evil they've committed, we cultivators live extraordinarily long lives. 5 years are but a grain of sand in the vast desert of centuries. After all these years and experiences, the grown-up me probably doesn't care about those things anymore. If I don't care, how can there be anything to forgive? With that thought, I handed him the immortality goo. Uncle Alchemist said it seems I was the one who took the 10,000 curses for you. Let me return it to you. I'll implant it into your body now. Lysander didn't hesitate, ready to implant the eternal goo, but I changed my mind. This isn't right. Even with just a tenth of his cultivation left, he'd still rank among the elite cultivators. The immortality goo only works when the target is completely powerless. I'm keeping it for myself. He slunk away in disgrace. I couldn't eat a bite as long as he stayed. It wasn't out of spite, whether it was food or medicine. The moment anything touched my tongue with him in sight, my stomach would rebel uncontrollably. Strange. He was strikingly handsome, the kind you'd expect to feast your eyes on. Why does everything about him turn my stomach? Even the slightest whiff of him makes my skin crawl. Every fiber of my being recoils at his presence. Only by cutting him off completely can I find any peace. Fearing my deteriorating health and the fading hope of regaining my memories, he reluctantly left. Shortly after his departure, the alchemist entered, mentioning a woman had been waiting outside the cave dwelling for quite some time. She requested an audience with me, even unspoken. I knew it was second senior sister. That woman claims I've forgotten all our beautiful memories together. Not necessarily closest friends. Then why does she visit me daily bearing rare elixirs crafted from celestial treasures? Yet I still harbor this inexplicable resentment toward her. I ignored her and took a short nap. When I woke, she was still waiting outside the herb hut. Spotting me, she pleaded in a choked voice for a chance to atone. Annoyed, I slammed the door shut and turned a deaf ear. She remained kneeling outside until deep into the night. The alchemist took pity and urged me to see her, but I stood firm. She's no good woman, I stated with conviction. The alchemist looked astonished. Your second senior sister was merely deceived by villains and misunderstood you. She can't truly be called wicked. No. I shook my head frantically. No. The alchemist looked at me with confusion. Those treasures she gave me, they weren't even hers, yet she used them to seek my forgiveness. The alchemist paused momentarily. Child, how do you know these treasures didn't belong to your second senior sister? I picked up a spirit crystal from the table. This was left by her. The spiritual energy within is pure and immense, with exquisitely arranged runes inside the crystal. No ordinary cultivator could have forged this, and I pointed at 2 magical artifacts nearby. Their materials and craftsmanship clearly bear the mark of those supreme masters with profound cultivation and peerless skills. It's obvious that second senior sister's cultivation level is nowhere near matching the creators of these treasures. How could she possibly possess such items? The alchemist was stunned. He assumed I'd known nothing about these matters after losing my memory. After a long pause, he finally spoke slowly. These artifacts indeed never belonged to your second senior sister, but she wasn't deliberately deceiving you either. These treasures were all won through your own merit in various competitions years ago. You were so close to your second senior sister that you gifted them all to her. Only later, certain events occurred. I could hardly believe it. I gave this to her. How could I have been so foolish? The alchemist sighed softly and patted my shoulder. Her current state, perhaps its guilt weighing on her heart. You should. I rushed out before he could finish. Turning to second sister, I said, how utterly tasteless. Using my own gift to placate me. Second sister's face turned ashen. After a long silence, she finally raised her head. This sister was wrong. Terribly wrong. Her voice came out hoarse. I'll take my leave now. I won't trouble you any longer. With those words, second senior sister turned resolutely, flicked her sleeve, and soared away on her sword. From that day forth, subtle ripples began spreading throughout the cultivation world. Whispers spread of a white-robed woman frequently appearing on martial platforms across various sects. She challenged every cultivator she encountered. Every duel was fought with relentless ferocity. Each strike delivered with lethal precision, leaving no room for the opponent to counter. The woman said she had a mission. She sought to retrieve the treasure to atone for her sins before her beloved junior sister. Hearing this, I remained silent. Those hazy memories suddenly gained some semblance of coherence at this moment, yet it's as if obscured by a veil of mist, impossible to perceive the complete picture. I don't want to think about it anymore. If redemption for someone can be this hollow and utilitarian, does the path of detachment even exist in this world? I think I'm having an epiphany. So this is what humans call redemption. The path of emotionlessness may not mean abandoning all feelings, but seeing through the hypocrisy and self-interest behind these emotions. Hesitantly, I returned to my former residence, the embroidered spring pavilion. I could sense the azure cloud sword was here. It was one of the few things in my memory that brought me comfort and familiarity, but the place was riddled with barriers. I reached out and touched the faintly glowing barrier wall. In an instant, a strange energy surged through my fingertips. The intricate patterns of the barrier became crystal clear before my eyes. Channeling my spiritual energy, I gathered it into my palm and delivered a gentle push. With a thunderous boom, the barrier shattered into countless beams of light, dissipating into the air. I stepped through the doorway. A petite figure came into view. I'd seen her before. They say she wronged me. They claim she's already faced severe punishment, so she's merely confined in the embroidered spring pavilion, forced to repent before my portrait. With all her daily comforts and cultivation resources fully provided, my gaze swept across the portrait, and my own face looked strangely unfamiliar. Vale started at the sight of me, then he sneered, "Myra, what brings you here? Come to watch how my master and senior brothers punish me." I kept my expression blank. "I'm not here for you." Spotting the long sword by her side, I reached for it. In a flash, she drew the azure cloud sword and leveled it before her. "Who said you could touch my blade?" I frowned. "That's mine, always has been." Vale threw back her head with a shrill, grating laugh. "In your dreams, this sword that Lysander wrested from your grasp and placed in mine has been with me for 5 years now. It answers to my will as naturally as my own breath. Do you really think you can reclaim it? Have you sought Master's permission, or Lysander's blessing?" "What? You didn't know? Master has promised that once my penance ends, Lysander and I shall finally be wed. Ha ha ha, everything you hold dear, Myra, it shall all be mine. You're nothing but a wretched cast-off." With that, she flung her sleeve dramatically and produced an eerie bronze mirror from her robes. The mirror's edges were engraved with twisted runes that emitted a ghostly, cold glow. It was demonic. I cautiously took a step back. These are the very things cultivators dread most, prone to demonic corruption that clouds the mind. Look at your pitiful state, the alchemist warned against revealing your past recklessly, yet you actually believed you could remember it gradually. Let me give you a helping hand. A smirk curled Vale's lips as he abruptly channeled spiritual energy. In an instant, the mirror's surface blazed with radiant light. Its reflection in the void revealed unspeakable scenes. In the dim woodshed, my brother's thick cane struck my body while his wife shrieked curses beside him. Fresh wounds layered upon unhealed scars. I tried to escape, only to be dragged back by Lysander. The scene shifted, surrounded by lecherous old bachelors, subjected to unspeakable depravity. Then Lysander kicked me to the ground, my mouth filling with blood. The 9-section whip lashed mercilessly across my body, leaving me writhing in agony. So many horrifying images, and the subject of them all was me. Ha ha ha, suffer, despair, this is your fate. Vale laughed maniacally, the bronze mirror in his hand glowing ever more blindingly. Those images kept playing on, an endless loop, crushing the last shred of my sanity. You can't escape. These memories will haunt you forever, making your life a living hell. My legs gave way as I collapsed to the ground, clutching my head in despair. No wonder Uncle Alchemist never told me about this. This is your life, Myra. Vale leaned in, his voice a venomous whisper. You read just fate's castaway. No matter how many do-overs you get, that wretched past of yours will always be filth. Vale, what the hell are you doing? The sudden accusation sent a visible shudder through Vale's body. The bronze mirror nearly slipped from his grasp. She turned her head in terror to see third brother charging toward her. "Little brother," Vale stammered, Trying to explain, third brother snatched the bronze mirror and smashed it violently on the ground. A resounding slap landed across Vale's face. "You vicious witch," third brother spat through gritted teeth. "Even now you still won't let her be." A trickle of blood escaped the corner of Vale's lips, her eyes burning with resentment. "Eldest brother, didn't you always dote on me most? How could you strike me for her sake?" Third brother ignored her and carefully helped me up. Myra, wake up, it's me." Third brother. He looked haggard, his face filled with guilt. His voice still carried a hint of tears. "You," my eyes fluttered open. Third elder brother. Lysander once mentioned that third elder brother had heard of a memory-restoring herb growing on Mount Shao, defying all dangers in the spirit realm. He resolutely set out to retrieve it, yet before even entering the mountains, the Shadow Bat King guarding the peaks gouged out one of his eyes. After untold hardships to obtain the herb, he personally prepared the decoction, but when it was brought before me, I knocked it over without hesitation. This incident completely deflated him, and he never came to the herb hut to see me again, seeing me just staring at him without any reaction. Third brother choked back tears and gently patted my back. "It's all right now, Myra. It's all right, everything's in the past. I'll protect you, little brother. No one will ever hurt you again." He turned his head toward Vale, who lay collapsed on the ground. "For stealing the profound heaven mirror from the demon realm, I'll report everything to our master truthfully. Prepare to face the consequences you deserve." Ugh. The azure cloud sword pierced straight through the third brother's heart from behind. His remaining eye widened with sorrow. I drew my sword impassively as blood splattered across my face, warmth trickled down my cheek, yet nothing could stir the stillness within me. Third brother's breath flickered like a candle in the wind. At the end, only these words remained: "Myra, I'm sorry." I stared blankly as he collapsed, not a shred of pity, not a ripple of emotion. So this is the trick. When I ended the life of someone once familiar, something inside me shattered completely, yet something else began growing with unstoppable force. It was a chilling indifference that viewed all worldly matters with cold detachment. It embodies an indomitable will to master one's own destiny, untethered by fleeting emotions. Every shred of hesitation, every trace of sentimentality was ruthlessly uprooted by this newfound power, leaving only a single-minded self, utterly devoted to attaining the supreme state. In that moment, enlightenment dawned upon me. The path of ruthlessness isn't about merely discarding emotions, it's about crushing them to dust and reforging them after enduring emotional devastation. All love, hatred, sorrow, joy, shall no longer sway my mind. Vale let out a piercing shriek. "You witch, how dare you kill third brother?" At that very moment, Lysander rushed over upon sensing the collapse of the embroidered spring pavilion's barrier. His eyes immediately locked onto me, face tense with concern. "Myra, what happened? Are you all right?" In his mind, the barrier master had erected was impenetrable, utterly beyond my ability to break. "There must be dangerous individuals here." Vale scrambled toward Lysander, pointing at me and shouting, "Lysander, look closely. She's a demon. She killed third brother." I held my sword, its blade dripping with blood. I stood motionless in silence. Lysander glanced at the figure on the ground and shoved Vale away in disgust. "You try the same old trick again." With Myra's current cultivation level, she couldn't even scratch our junior brother. "You're up to no good, time and again with your wicked schemes. What vile plot are you hatching now?" Then his gaze turned to me, softening instantly. "Myra, don't be afraid. No matter what happens, I'll keep you safe, this time, and every time after. You're the only one I trust. What's really going on? Tell me." I tilted my head and smiled. To be honest, he looked quite killable. "Lysander, have you lost your mind?" Vale clutched the profound heaven mirror tightly. "Look. This is your so-called innocent Myra." As she channeled spiritual energy, the mirror instantly reflected the scene of me thrusting my sword toward the third elder brother. Blood splattered in a horrifying spectacle. Lysander's face turned ashen. In a split second, they struck with spiritual energy sharp as a blade, slashing viciously at the demonic mirror. With a resounding crack, the mirror shattered into countless fragments. Vale recoiled from the backlash, spitting out a mouthful of blood. You'd actually sacrifice me, for her sake?" Vale roared. "How has everyone fallen under her spell?" 14. No sooner had the words been spoken than figures streaked across the sky. The sect elders emerged one after another. The crowd stared at the bloody scene before them, faces frozen in shock. Lysander pulled me into his embrace, his voice icy. "Honored elders, it was I who breached the barrier." Vale went berserk, murdered our third junior brother, stole demonic artifacts with treacherous intent, and sought to frame Myra. Before entering seclusion, our master granted me authority to act in emergencies. Since this incident concerns our sect, we shall handle it according to our traditions. There's no need to await our master's return. Vale stared at Lysander in disbelief, shaking his head wildly. Lies, it was Myra. She's the one who, the elder's gaze swept across the assembly. This matter is grave. We mustn't jump to conclusions. All of you, return to the sect with me for thorough investigation, Lysander declared firmly. No investigation is necessary, even setting aside what I witnessed with my own eyes. Do you honestly believe Myra in her current state could kill anyone? My engagement with Vale is hereby terminated. The elders frowned. Lysander, your union with Vale was foretold by celestial divination, a most auspicious match vital to our sect's destiny. How can you treat this lightly? There must be some misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding, Lysander declared resolutely. My decision is final. He looked at me again, coaxing. Myra, don't be afraid. I'll marry you and protect you with everything I have, even if you never remember the past. It's fine, let's just be an ordinary couple, alright. I lowered my eyes without speaking. He whispered in my ear, Myra, marrying me is the only way you can practice safely in the mountains. Do this for yourself, won't you? I fell silent for a moment, then I answered softly, alright. But promise you'll always treat me well. Lysander froze. After what felt like an eternity, he finally gathered me into his arms, overwhelmed with disbelief, barely containing his excitement. This is wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Myra. Vale stormed over furiously, screaming, Myra, you wretched bitch. How dare you steal everything from me? Lysander reacted instantly, shielding me behind him in the blink of an eye. Spiritual energy surged through my body, effortlessly deflecting Vale's attack. She tumbled to the ground in disarray, then scrambled back up on all fours. Lysander, our master clearly said we were destined for each other. How dare you defy his decree and marry this worthless trash? Without another word, Lysander took me back to the sword pavilion and kept vigil over me day and night. He said only by becoming stronger himself could he protect me, yet he dared not enter seclusion recklessly, afraid I might be bullied in his absence. At dawn each day, he'd brew spiritual kanji for me. He coaxed gently, Myra, drink it now. It'll help your cultivation. Disliking him, I'd always find excuses to knock over his bowl. No, if you force me, I won't marry you. Alright, be good, Myra, drink whenever you're ready. Whenever I napped, he'd carefully tuck in my blankets before meditating beside me, as if afraid some wild beast would carry me off. He panics whenever I'm out of sight. I love practicing my flute when he's completely focused on channeling spiritual energy to break through to the next realm. When the interference became too intense, he coughed up blood with a pft sound. Myra, sweetheart, could you please not practice the flute while I'm meditating? He kept coaxing me wearily. Over and over again, I ignored him and just kept playing. I love playing the flute. Why should I stop just because of him? Lysander said with a pained expression. Our martial uncles have always envied our master for having two exceptional disciples like you and me. They especially feared our union. Some things, let's just leave them be, Myra. After we're married, I'll take you through the mountain pass with me. Would you like that? Losing your memories might not be such a bad thing after all. Let's make the best of this. Just the two of us. The wedding date remained unchanged, only with me replacing Vale. Before that, Lysander stayed by my side day and night. During stolen moments between his busy schedule, he'd reminisce with me about our past even when I remained unresponsive. He never lost patience. At last, his wedding day arrived, and there I stood before him, clad in crimson bridal robes. Lysander carried himself with an aloof demeanor, his frosty expression perpetually keeping others at arm's length. Only today, your eyes brim with unconcealable fervor, your lips remain perpetually upturned, though I've plagued you to the point of exhaustion these days, leaving your complexion unnaturally pale. Yet when you gaze at me, the tenderness and adoration in your eyes never wavers. Holding my hand, he plucked two enchanted rings from the sacred tree in the celestial grove. One he slipped onto my finger, the other onto his own. The rings fit snugly, radiating a gentle warmth. Their faint glow pulsed, binding our fates as one. After paying respects to heaven and earth, we kowtowed before our master's secluded cave. Our master never emerged from seclusion throughout the entire ceremony. Just as the rites concluded, a junior disciple came rushing in with news. Eldest brother, second sister was beheaded by a black-robed swordsman atop Misty Peak. Should we inform our master? They returned her signature sword, the Azure Abyss, the very symbol of her identity. It was both a provocation and a warning. Eldest brother, you must avenge second sister. That swordsman went too far. When challenging a school, one should know when to stop. I heard second sister was the aggressor, demanding they hand over that forget worry pearl. Claimed it could make people remember joy and forget sorrow. The forget sorrow pearl, that legendary treasure, explains why second sister coveted it. But even so, it wasn't worth dying for. Lysander's expression darkened. In less than a year, only he and I remained from our sect, and I was still worthless. What could Master be thinking on the other side of the door? This matter requires caution. That swordsman who slew your second senior sister is clearly no ordinary opponent. Lysander pondered briefly before addressing the group. First, we must investigate this person's background before deciding our course of action. Then turning to me, he added, today is my wedding day. Do not trouble me with unrelated matters. Everyone, withdraw. Only Lysander and I remained. Lysander gently took my hand, his palm radiating subtle warmth. Myra, let not these trifles disturb our wedding. Since long ago, I've yearned for nothing but to marry you. Lysander lowered his head slightly, his forehead gently touching mine. No matter what we've been through, these feelings have never changed. He caressed my hair with a touch so tender, as if handling a priceless treasure. Do you remember our first meeting? You were so petite, yet stubborn as a mule, never giving up even when rejected. A faint smile touched Lysander's lips as he lost himself in memories. I'm not good with words, but all these years I've trained relentlessly, just to become strong enough to protect you and build us a stable future. And now, this day has finally come. Lysander drew me into a gentle embrace, holding me tight as if afraid I might vanish. I smiled with innocent sweetness. Does that mean you're my husband now? He revealed the spirit ring on his hand. In our cultivation world, this ring manifests the dual cultivation vow. When rings bind, so do hearts as husband and wife. Oh, I lowered my gaze, looking at the tiny object in my hand, fell silent. Myra, it's all right if you can't remember our past. He leaned down and whispered in my ear, for the rest of our lives. His unfinished words choked in the depths of his throat, for my right hand had pierced his heart, clutching the spiritual core that contained his lifelong cultivation and vital essence. Blood gushed ceaselessly from the wound in his chest, staining his crimson wedding robes darker still. The festive crimson now burned my eyes with its garish glare. The spirit core pulsed in my palm, his spiritual energy surged into me like a broken dam, violently coursing through my meridians. I clenched my teeth, desperately containing this raging force, devouring its essence with insatiable hunger. Myra, Lysander forced out the words with difficulty. His eyes held neither anger nor resentment, just an emotion I couldn't begin to comprehend. I remained utterly unmoved until the light in his eyes slowly faded away. Only when his body collapsed with a thud did I slowly withdraw my blood-stained hand. I said, "You're good, but I despise you." Lysander froze momentarily, coughing up blood flecked with tissue fragments. The blood splattered onto the ground, staining a small patch of earth. His gaze grew unfocused, yet he struggled to fix his eyes upon me. Though I know your schemes, I still hope you'll change your mind. Myra, his hand lifted weakly as if to reach for me, only to falter midair and drop limply. If given another chance, I'd still fall for you. I just wouldn't let you suffer like this again. Lysander's voice trailed off into silence. All movement ceased completely. I stood motionless, shaking the blood off my hands. The sealed gate swung open at that moment. Two figures emerged. Vale's voice shattered with despair. Lysander, no, how could you leave me like this? Trembling, she cradled Lysander's face in her hands, desperate to rekindle his warmth with the fading heat of her own body. You can't die. You mustn't. Our fates are entwined. I need our dual cultivation to ascend. What becomes of me if you're gone? Vale sobbed hysterically. Why is it so hard just to earn your love? You knew this woman had ulterior motives in marrying you. Why were you completely defenseless against her? You knew anyone who could break Master's barrier must be formidable. Were you planning to die from the start? What does that make me? Vale whirled around, glaring at me with venom. Myra, you've ruined me. I'll make you pay with your life. She lunged at me, only to be intercepted by our master. The master roared, slaying your own husband to prove your Tao. Myra, how could you be so ruthless? 15. I stared coldly at them. What of it? So I Killed my husband to advance my cultivation. In this dog-eat-dog world of immortal cultivation, power is the only true foundation. Lysander was merely a stepping stone on my path to supremacy. You're utterly incorrigible. The master trembled with rage. Such actions will bring divine retribution upon you. I threw my head back and laughed to the heavens. Divine retribution. Let's see what these heavens can possibly do to me. The master's face was etched with sorrow. I never imagined my disciple could stray so far down this dark path, a wrong path. Indeed, unlike our master who's so caring that he even brings disciples along during seclusion, a troubled expression crossed our master's face. I brought Vale to assist her break through and prevent her from straying onto the wrong path. But Vale killed someone. I chuckled softly. Shouldn't she be serving penance at the cliff of reflection now? Vale glared at me viciously. Myra, stop your slanderous lies. You're the one who murdered third brother. The master would never believe you. Today marks your doom. A smirk played at the corner of my lips. You and what army? With that, I lunged at Vale in a blur of motion, striking out with a palm strike. Vale couldn't dodge in time and went flying. The master moved swiftly, shielding Vale behind him, and uttered in disbelief, Myra, you've actually comprehended the path of heartlessness. The path of immortal cultivation, though fraught with hardships, should never come at the cost of sacrificing those we hold dear. The master sighed deeply. Such methods of enlightenment, how are they any different from the ways of demons and heretics? One misstep leads to another. Today, as your master, I shall execute heaven's will and purge this unworthy disciple. I sneered, cleaning house, master. At this point, why keep playing dumb? My master frowned. You rebellious disciple, what nonsense are you spouting? From the very beginning, all of us, me, Lysander, every disciple of Azure Cloud sect, we're just pawns in your hands. I enunciated each word. You favored Vale and took her into seclusion because she's descended from ancient dark cultivators. You seek to exploit her bloodline, harnessing her power to unseal the ancient demonic abyss, claiming its peerless artifacts and formidable cultivation techniques to break through your own bottleneck and dominate this realm of immortal ascension. The master stroked his beard, unmoved by my words. Preposterous. You're merely concocting excuses for your wicked deeds. Oh, I pressed further. Dare you deny you orchestrated their marriage precisely because Lysander's pure cultivation arts could counterbalance Vale's corrupted bloodline? After the wedding, you'd have Vale purify her tainted blood using Lysander's power, all to dismantle the abyss's seals. All those misfortunes that befell me were merely consequences you deliberately cultivated. As the sect master of Azure Sky Immortal Sect, you brushed aside the theft of our sacred relic, allowing my cultivation to be destroyed and my dignity trampled without intervention. You only brought me back to the sect to let Lysander witness my wretched state, to make him abandon me completely, to turn Lysander into your pawn. You fabricated the tale of Elder Mordecai stealing the pure spirit pearl, using his wariness toward your two prized disciples as pretext. You made Lysander distrust his own master. In truth, the elder was just another scapegoat. It was only because Lysander developed feelings for me and refused to cultivate sincerely with Vale that you decided to drive me away 5 years ago. The one who could set up such a barrier in Chin Village without the sect noticing, the one who knew about the undispelled longevity goo within me, and back then, the only person in the entire immortal sect who could have stolen the Soul Guard elixir right under my nose without a trace. That would be you, wouldn't it? You deliberately manipulated second senior sister into rescuing Vale from her drunken father, thinking your subtle maneuvering would keep anyone from looking too closely at Vale's true identity. That so-called drunkard was actually your planted informant. Vale's spiritual meridians were damaged by him. Without a Soul Guard elixir, she can't possibly continue her cultivation. You didn't care about her mediocre talent when taking her as your disciple and giving her the elixir. You just wanted her indebted to you, willing to be your pawn. Vale's face registered complete shock. Turning to my master with trembling voice, I asked, Master, is what she said true? A flash of cruelty flickered in the master's eyes. Suddenly raising a hand, he shot a beam of dark spiritual energy toward me. I dodged sideways as the energy beam grazed past, leaving a deep crater in the ground. Since you've seen through me, don't blame your master for being ruthless, the master roared. Killing you now will still set everything right. Hovering midair, I said, Master, won't you even ask how I uncovered the truth? During the demon-slaying war, I sensed overwhelming demonic energy when retrieving the purification pearl, yet when it last invaded my soul core, the corruption intensified, defying the pearl's innate purifying nature. Moreover, it bore your spiritual signature. Others might miss it, but having trained under you since childhood, I'd recognize your energy fluctuations anywhere. From the very beginning, you've been scheming in the shadows. The demon-slaying war was merely the opening move in your grand design. You knew I could resonate with the pure spirit pearl. You intended to use me to retrieve it, allowing you to inscribe demonic runes upon it using the miasma from the abyss. Once the ritual array was complete, you could harness the pearl's spiritual energy to endlessly channel the abyss's dark power for your own purposes. But fate intervened. The pearl was completely purified in my possession, rendering it worthless to your schemes. You've been toying with me like a puppet. Today, your reckoning has come. My eyes flashed with icy fury. In an instant, the heavens and earth darkened with ominous change. I closed the distance to my master in a flash, striking out with a palm strike. The master's expression changed abruptly as he hastily swung his longsword. Runes flared to life, forming a shimmering spiritual barrier. The moment the palm strike collided with the shield, a thunderous crash echoed as the spiritual barrier shattered instantly. The master was sent crashing onto the ground dozens of yards away. This can't be. He struggled to rise from the dust, blood trickling from his lips, the path of severing emotions. How could it be this formidable? Step by step, I advanced toward him, the corner of my lips curling faintly. Master, it's time, just like my dear senior brother, to contribute to my cultivation. With those words, I channeled my spiritual energy, a powerful suction force radiating from my palm. The master tried to flee, but his legs seemed nailed to the ground, utterly paralyzed. You treacherous disciple, how dare you? In an instant, I drained his life essence, the spiritual energy cultivated over decades, and his unique arcane insights. His body rapidly withered away. He's not dead. I never intended to kill him. I transferred the immortality goo meant for Lysander into his body instead. After forcibly feeding him a soul-sealing pill, I dumped him in a brothel to work as a pimp. Now you who stand so high shall taste the bitter chains of humiliation and learn to grovel like the rest. As for Vale, I turned to her. They say the blood of dark cultivators attracts evil spirits. Since I've learned how to enter the withering Vale, you'll scout ahead. Vale's body trembled uncontrollably. You're insane. The Vale swarms with abominations. It's certain death. A cold smirk curled at the corner of my lips. That's your problem. With the sect leader expelled, I sacrificed my beloved sect to the heavens. My power ascended toward greater heights. After a period of secluded cultivation, I finally broke through the bottleneck that had long plagued me. As I emerged from seclusion, howling winds raged and dark clouds blotted out the sky. A blinding beam of light pierced through the heavens, suspended midair. I gazed down upon this merciless world where the strong prey on the weak. From that day forth, the cultivation world gained a ruthless powerhouse whose very name struck terror into hearts. Story 2. My younger sister awakened a spatial ability and claimed the apocalypse was coming. I used all my available liquid funds to gather a large amount of supplies and stored them in her space. In our previous life, after taking the supplies, my sister turned against me. You still have so much money left in your bank card. Don't you believe me? Now all the money in your card has turned into worthless paper. You can live with that scrap paper. I tried my best to explain, but my younger sister still wouldn't listen. She even fed the supplies I had gathered to the dog right in front of me. I was locked in the room and starved to death. Yet my sister thought it was bad luck. Have mom throw my corpse into the zombie horde. After rebirth, I obtained a golden finger. I see the disaster-proof, zombie-proof villa bought with money, and endless supplies of food and weapons. Sorry, but this time money really is omnipotent for me, sis. Even if mom doesn't believe me, you can't not believe me too. My younger sister looked at me with displeasure and questioned. In my previous life, after seeing my sister's supernatural ability, I used all my liquid assets to stock up on supplies just in case. When my mom found out, she angrily slapped me. Is your younger sister ignorant? And are you just as clueless? You spent all the money on these useless things. I told you long ago to let me handle the money. You're such a spendthrift, always wasting it recklessly. The younger sister frowned as she watched, only making excuses for herself. Mom, how am I ignorant? I'm doing this for our family. The novel said that if supernatural powers appear, the apocalypse is sure to come. Since big sister has so much money anyway, what's the harm in buying some to store? If the apocalypse doesn't actually happen, it's just a small amount of money. Spent is spent. My mother glared at me. That's the only skill she has, making money. if the apocalypse really comes, Mirella will be Mom's real support. My younger sister lifted her chin, apparently quite satisfied with my mother's words. Sister, don't worry, as long as we have enough supplies in our space, our whole family will survive. I nodded and believed my sister. A week later, the apocalypse indeed arrived. Our family had enough supplies to last us a lifetime, but my sister boasted about it in the family group chat. I immediately tried to stop her, but she turned around and posted my words in the group. Sister, we're all family. How can you be so heartless now that we have the ability to help everyone? You're being so selfish. The aunts and uncles in the family group also took turns criticizing me while praising my younger sister. My younger sister even suggested bringing all the relatives to live in our home, and as more people moved in, I was ostracized and oppressed. My room was taken over, and I had to take care of a large family every day. My younger sister, on the other hand, was treated like the center of attention by our relatives. She threw meat on the ground in front of me to feed her pet dog. I told you the apocalypse was coming and to stock up on supplies. You still have so much money left in your bank account. Didn't you believe me? Now all the money in your card has turned into worthless paper. You can live with that scrap paper slowly, I desperately explained. I'm afraid that if the apocalypse doesn't come, we still need to keep some savings. But my younger sister didn't believe me and ordered our mother to lock me in the storage room. You're just good at making some money, that's all. Now times have changed. I'm the only savior. I was starved to death in the storage room. By the time my sister had someone let me out, my corpse was already emitting the stench of decay. My sister covered her nose in disgust. How useless, dying after just a few days of starvation. Mom, get her out of here quickly. Dead people shouldn't take up space. My mother frowned. Where should we take her? My sister pointed to the balcony. Since she's already dead, just throw her out there to feed the zombies. That way we won't have to listen to those starving zombies whining. It's so annoying. I was thrown from the 15th floor and devoured by a horde of zombies before my eyes. My younger sister kept demanding whether I truly believed her. Sis, you've always been the one who dotes on me most. Don't tell me even you don't believe me. I forced a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Of course I believe you. My younger sister grabbed my hand excitedly, then quickly take out the money to buy supplies. As long as we fill the space, our whole family can survive the apocalypse. I looked at her awkwardly, but all my cash is tied up in the stock market. My sister anxiously stared at me. Then withdraw it all immediately. I can't withdraw it now. Can't take it out. Don't you trust me? Is that why you're saying it can't be taken out? My younger sister glared at me angrily. What if the apocalypse really comes? I have spatial abilities but can't fight zombies. If I don't have supplies, my powers will be useless. You have to figure something out. I lowered my eyes and made a suggestion. How about this? Try talking to Mom again. Isn't the house we're living in now the one I bought before? It's worth $3 million. If necessary, we can sell it at a lower price. I've transferred quite a bit of savings to Mom over these years. And all those designer bags in your wardrobe, plus the clothes and shoes, they could all be sold. My younger sister frowned. That won't do. What would I wear if we sold them? I thought sarcastically to myself. But now I don't have any cash on hand. Didn't you want to stock up on supplies? If you can't bear to part with your things, then there's no way to make the purchases. My younger sister gritted her teeth and said, let's sell the house first. I'll go talk to Mom. I watched my sister's figure disappear into the distance, and soon the sound of an argument came from the room. Mom, I have a feeling that if we don't hurry, it'll really be too late. My dear, this villa is the dowry I saved for you. Don't listen to your sister's nonsense. Mom, if the apocalypse doesn't actually come, we can just have my sister buy it back after her funds become available. Right now, gathering supplies is the real priority. I scoffed at my younger sister's words. Her calculations were so transparent you could hear them from abroad. 10 minutes later, my sister came out of the room triumphantly holding the property deed. Yet in my past life, when I spent my own money to buy supplies, I got slapped and scolded for half an hour. My younger sister triumphantly placed the property deed in my hand. Sis, you have wide connections. Take the house and sell it. The faster the cash comes in, the better. I have a feeling the apocalypse is coming very soon. I took the property deed and nodded, making an excuse to go out. The house must be sold, but the money can only be mine. I returned to the apartment under my name, calculating all my assets. I sold all the stocks in my hands, disposed of all my shares, and liquidated every car in the garage along with the reclaimed property deeds. Everything was sold off now, with just a few days left before the apocalypse arrives. Time is of the essence. My sister was right. I have extensive connections. In almost a single day, I converted all my real estate holdings into liquid funds. Now, the balance in my card has soared to 50 million. A ding! Electronic sound suddenly echoed in my mind. Ding sufficient. Balance detected, successfully bound to the Apocalypse System store. This store has everything you could imagine and more at fair prices. Even after witnessing my sister's spatial abilities, they paled in comparison to the awe the system store inspired in me. The further I looked, the brighter my eyes became. Immediately found someone to purchase a plot of land in the suburbs and couldn't wait to buy the top-tier villa from the system. The villa materialized before my eyes. According to the description, it was fully furnished, impenetrable to any weapon, resistant to zombies, equipped with an electric fence. No one could enter without my permission. The villa also came with various high-tech features: solar power system, climate control, and filtration system, essentially the ultimate natural fortress for the apocalypse, with security guaranteed. Now it's all about stocking up on supplies. In my past life I starved to death, so I immediately bought all kinds of ingredients and snacks at the store. I stocked up on plenty of daily necessities: cars, gasoline, generators, clothes, anything useful. The store even had weapons with extraordinary combat power, but unfortunately I didn't have enough money, so I made a quick decision and took out every possible loan available, stockpiled quite a few high-tech weapons. Seeing only 3 million left in my savings, I felt strangely at ease. In just 3 short days, my younger sister had already called me over 100 times, too. I didn't answer a single one. I'd bought the house at home. When I purchased it, I installed many hidden cameras as a precaution against accidents. I turned on the surveillance. My sister, with tears in her eyes, was packing her designer bags, clothes, and shoes to sell while cursing at me. That bitch Alara must be keeping the money for herself to buy supplies. I'm her own sister, yet she abandoned me. She doesn't even have spatial abilities. What's the use of hoarding all those supplies? They'll just get looted sooner or later. My mother joined in the verbal abuse. I told you she was just after the house, and you, foolish girl, kept insisting the apocalypse was coming and handed her the property deed. Yesterday I went to her workplace to confront her, only to find out she'd quit. Luckily, I've saved up quite a bit over the years. Otherwise, my sister immediately cut off. Mom. Exactly, Mom, you still have savings. Give them to me now. I have a feeling if we don't prepare soon, it'll be too late. My mother poked my younger sister's forehead with her index finger. You're still talking about the apocalypse. Who brainwashed you like this? Seeing that our mother still didn't believe her, my sister glared at her in frustration. Mom, if the apocalypse isn't coming, how do you explain my superpower? And I keep dreaming about the end times these days. It must be a warning from heaven. I must be the savior. Otherwise, how would I know? Mom, stop dawdling. Give me the savings now. I'll sell everything, then stock up on supplies. Otherwise, when the zombies come, will become their next meal. My mother was intimidated by my sister's confident demeanor and hesitantly took out her bank card. Will there really be zombies? My sister took the bank card and smiled triumphantly. I knew you'd always be on my side. Mom, don't worry. As long as we stockpile enough supplies, we'll definitely live like royalty when the apocalypse comes. As for Alara, she won't be my sister anymore. When the time comes, even if she begs on her knees, I'll never forgive her. My mother agreed. That's the only thing she's good at, making money. If the apocalypse really happens, Mirella will be my true support. Hearing these familiar words, I couldn't help but feel a pang of irony in my heart. It's a pity that without my financial support this time, will their savings really be enough to maintain the lavish lifestyle they had in their previous lives? I finally got everything ready to welcome the arrival of the apocalypse, lying on the recliner in the big villa while sipping orange juice. My phone buzzed again. As soon as I answered the call, I heard chaotic background noise and my younger sister's crying. Alara, did you sell the house? I instantly understood. Oh, so it's the people coming to collect the house. Yeah, wasn't it you who told me to sell it? My sister's voice sounded somewhat broken. I told you to sell it to buy supplies for my space. I don't care. Make them leave now. You know the apocalypse is coming. What will happen to me and Mom if we get kicked out? How can you be so heartless? Do you really not care whether Mom and I live or die? Mom's curses echoed from the side. Alara, get your ass back here right now. This house is mine. Don't think I won't sue you. I scoffed. Where exactly would she sue me when the apocalypse is at hand? The 18 levels of hell. I was the one who paid for this house in the first place. So what if I sell it now? As for you all, you'll have to fend for yourselves. I hung up the phone and opened the surveillance feed to watch the two of them being thrown out in disgrace. My sister and mother blocked the door to prevent anyone from entering. Initially, considering the controversy surrounding this house, I sold it at a low price to the local bully nearby. Naturally, the few people who came to claim the house now are no good either. Seeing that the two wouldn't open the door, they immediately fetched an axe to force their way in. The axe left a mark on the door as it struck. The younger sister and mother hugged each other, screaming repeatedly. The next second, the sound of chopping at the door stopped. My sister trembled all over and pushed my mom. Mom, go take a look. My mom shakily walked to the front door and peered through the peephole, just in time to meet a pair of pale, faded eyes. My mother screamed and fell to the ground. Ah, there's a monster. The apocalypse has arrived. Although it's a bit regrettable that the two weren't kicked out, seeing them utterly terrified gave me immense satisfaction. After recovering from the shock, my younger sister actually stopped being afraid. Instead, she became rather excited. Mom, the apocalypse has really come. I told you so. Good thing we prepared a ton of supplies. If we ration carefully, the stuff in my space can last us a lifetime. 3. My mother was so moved by my sister's words that she shed tears. Mirella, you're truly Mom's lucky star. Thankfully you were prepared in advance. Mom will rely on you from now on. For the next several days, Mirella sent me video updates daily like clockwork, sometimes showing her luxurious lunch, other times her lavish afternoon tea. Elara, don't think you can just take all the money to buy supplies. Without storage space, no matter how much you hoard, it'll just expire and become useless. Moreover, with so many supplies all to yourself, you can't possibly hide them all. Wait until they get stolen. Then you'll understand what it means to do the hard work only for others to reap the benefits. With Mom around, I don't even have to cook. I can just lie around all day. You must be having a pretty rough time all by yourself. I never replied to a single message from Mirella, but I saved every message record. Finally, I saw someone bubble up in the family group chat. Is anyone still alive? My family has no food left. Does any brother, sister, uncle, or aunt have any food at home? I can pay for it. As soon as these words were spoken, the surviving members of the family group quickly responded, same here, woo-woo, there are monsters everywhere outside. I'm alone at home with no food at all. I'm also willing to pay. Any amount is fine. What's the use of money now? It's just worthless paper. Besides, even if we were to trade, we'd have to meet in person, but the streets are full of zombies now. Who dares to go out? Our family is a big one, and in these critical times, we must unite as one. Both my sons have awakened special abilities. If any of you have food supplies, I can bring my sons to protect you. Our family is the same. There's strength in numbers. We need to gather together to overcome these difficult times. Agreed. Right now, the most important thing is knowing which households have supplies. I smiled at the flood of messages in the family group chat. In my past life, it was at this moment that Mirella stepped forward, announcing she had supplies and inviting everyone to come to our house. The relatives who once flattered me now slandered me to the ground, trampling on me while lifting up my younger sister. Having witnessed the diversity of human nature, I didn't find this particularly strange. The only thing that surprised me was Mirella's changed attitude. I only learned the reason just before my death, when I was starving to death. Mirella stood over me with an air of superiority. I grew up under your shadow all along. Now you finally understand how I felt. I was particularly baffled at that moment. Haven't I treated you well? Mom always made me yield to you since childhood, and I bought you whatever you wanted when we grew up. She glared at me with hatred. No matter how hard I tried, you always effortlessly stole the glory that should have been mine. But it doesn't matter now. From the moment I awakened my supernatural ability, I became the true protagonist. After saying this, she smirked and threw the meat to the dog right in front of me. Seeing me try to snatch it, Mirella burst into laughter 3 times. A proud son of heaven actually fighting a dog for food. How shameless. I'd rather feed it to the dog than give it to you. Beef jerky, pork jerky, diced rabbit meat, spicy strips, potato chips, biscuits, jelly, dried fish, cola, Sprite, Fanta. But I was the one who prepared all that food. I'll take 5 boxes of each. I'm unwilling to accept this, but it's useless. Mirella strode out the door with the dog, and as it closed, I was plunged back into darkness. This time I decisively posted the photos Mirella sent me to show off in the group chat. The family group members who had been silent suddenly all came alive. Oh my god, your family is still eating this well even during the apocalypse. You even have braised fish and mushroom stewed chicken. I'm drooling just looking at them. Elara dear, Aunt San always knew you'd make something of yourself, taking such good care of the family. Please, have mercy and help Aunt San's family too. We haven't eaten properly in 2 days, and our family too. Elara, you can't play favorites like this. I smiled faintly and sent a message in the group chat. Oh, actually, this is all thanks to my sister's foresight. She prepared so much food in advance that we can't even finish it all. As soon as these words were spoken, the group's tone instantly shifted to praising Mirella, for Mirella is truly amazing, even predicting messages in advance at Mirella. Aunt Seven is bringing your 2 cousins to protect you right away. Meanwhile, Mirella was frantically calling and messaging me. You're not allowed to speak in the group anymore. What good does it do to bring them to our home? There's barely enough food for me and Mom as it is, I replied. But if you don't save them, they'll die. So what if they die? It's none of my business. I wish they'd all die. Nobody should come to my house, I sneered. That wasn't what you said in our past life. So, was it because I prepared too many supplies for you in our past life to deal with such people? I choose to give them a taste of their own medicine. I forwarded my chat history with Mirella into the group, returning every word she said in her past life to her unchanged. Little sister, we're all family. How can you be so unreasonable? Now that we have the ability to help everyone, you're being so selfish. Everyone in the group instantly became furious, attacking Mirella just as they had attacked me in our past lives. Mirella initially pretended to be dead, until everyone made their proposal. Since she doesn't consider us family, we won't hold back either. Let's all gather together and go to her house. After all, they can't run away now. With our numbers, I refuse to believe we can't handle this little brat. The replies below were all messages of support. Mirella panicked at the sight and wanted to divert the trouble elsewhere. I don't have any food left. Elara does. Elara sold her house to stock up on supplies. She must have plenty of food and resources. Go look for them. I quickly posted a screenshot of my stock soaring in the red. I sold my house mainly because I went bankrupt. I had no choice but to sell it. Now I only have 3 cups of instant noodles left. Little sister, please let your big sister come home. Okay, the relatives in the family group took one look and decisively set their sights on Mirella. No matter how much I insisted in the group chat about having supplies, not a single person believed Mirella. I looked at my phone and laughed out loud at the flood of abusive messages drowning me. This satisfying revenge is still far from enough. I sit on the balcony enjoying the good life in the past. I was too busy working overtime to earn money and never had a proper rest. Now I finally have time to relax with a cup of coffee, clear my mind, and when bored, take out the laser gun to shoot zombies wandering outside the villa. Watching Mirella crying on the surveillance feed. As usual, I turn on the surveillance to watch the live feed, just as I saw the villa's gate being split open. A swarm of relatives rushed into the villa like bees. Mirella and my mom hid in the corner, being interrogated. Tell us, where's the food? Mirella trembled. I've already said I don't have any food. You've all been tricked by Elara. Sharp-eyed Aunt Sen exclaimed. Impossible. You've clearly gained weight. How could you have no food? Hand it over now. My mother shielded Mirella behind her. Aunt San, can't you speak properly? You're scaring the child. Aunt San glared at them. You've been feasting at home without a thought for us relatives. We came all this way, and you still refuse to share. Aunt Chi beside her tugged at Aunt San's sleeve. Why waste words? Just search the place. At the command, everyone began searching frantically, even digging out underwear from the wardrobe. After searching everywhere, the group gathered before the 2 again. Why isn't it here? Where did you hide the food? The eldest cousin, a metal-type ability user who had just finished repairing the villa's front door, walked in. Since there's nothing at home, it must be because one of them has a power to hide things, fooling everyone, since you refuse to hand it over. Then, the eldest cousin put a knife to my mother's neck. Hand it over or die. My mom and Mirella burst into tears together, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. We'll pay, we'll pay. I almost laughed at the scene before me. In my past life, my elder cousin was Mirella's simp. If not for the blood relation, he would have rushed to confess his love to Mirella. Mirella's trembling hand raised, revealing a row of food. 5. The starving relatives who hadn't eaten for days rushed forward, their eyes burning. With primal hunger for food, Mirella stared at the devoured food with eyes full of hatred and regret. Why didn't we prepare some poison or something when gathering supplies back then? After the feast, everyone turned their gaze back to the mother and daughter, deciding their fate. What about them? Third aunt suggested. Lock them in a room. Since they won't help us voluntarily, why should we treat them kindly? Everyone agreed with third aunt's proposal. Mirella and my mother were locked in the storage room where I died in my previous life. The storage room had no windows, and the light switch was outside. Once the door was closed, it became pitch black. Mirella and my mother clung to each other, drawing a sense of security from one another while cursing me. It's all Alara's fault. If she hadn't posted those photos and videos in the group chat, we wouldn't have ended up like this. I should have strangled her when she was born. That little bitch even dares to screw over her own mother, and these poor relatives of ours, who used to grovel before me, how dare they treat me like this now? They must be out of their minds. I immediately sent this video clip to our family group chat. The next second, the storage room door swung open, and the room erupted with sounds of violent beatings, screams, sobs, and pleas for mercy. After receiving a beating, Mirella behaved obediently to prevent Mirella from stealing food. The relatives kept her under close supervision doing odd jobs, but when has Mirella, who was pampered since childhood, ever done such work? Constantly scolded and beaten, until finally numb, just like my past self, groveling to please everyone just to survive. Life became dull, but how could I allow that? I stared at the pile of enemies under the lens, not just Mirella, but also these relatives who bullied me relentlessly in my past life, so I posted the photo again in the community group chat. Along with the house number, I even specifically uploaded Mirella's photo. My name is Mirella. I'm a spatial ability user with plenty of supplies in my dimensional space, but I've been imprisoned by my relatives. If any kind soul is willing to rescue me, I'm willing to provide them with supplies. The community group chat exploded too, and all the surviving members gathered together, arriving at the villa's entrance in an angry mob under the banner of rescuing Mirella. The relatives panicked instantly upon seeing over 40 people outside. They immediately questioned the crowd's intentions, and upon learning it was Mirella who called for help, they viciously beat her up. Mirella cried and begged for mercy. It wasn't me. I didn't do it. I didn't send a distress message in the community group. It really wasn't me. The relatives didn't believe Mirella's words. After beating her, they discussed and eventually let everyone in. After all, the enemy outnumbers us, so it's better not to make enemies. Secondly, there are zombies roaming outside. A few can be dealt with, but if too many people gather, zombies from the entire city will swarm over. Once the gate is breached, we'll all be like turtles caught in a jar, losing more than gaining. With over a dozen relatives and more than 40 people from community groups, the villa became instantly crowded. It's not just the sharp decrease in food supplies. Even accommodation became an issue. The relatives were comfortably settled in their rooms, but the neighbors wouldn't have it, leading to conflicts almost daily. Their way of resolving conflicts was simple. Just fight it out. The erosion of humanity in the apocalypse made them forget they were acting in the name of saving Mirella. Mirella's status remained unchanged, merely a low-tier food supply tool, but the food in Mirella's space was gradually running out after days of consumption. As food grew increasingly scarce, everyone gradually deemed Mirella useless and would frequently beat and kick her. After a blow to the head, Mirella woke up to the dire situation before her and nearly broke down. No, this can't be right. Wasn't I supposed to be the savior? You should all be worshipping me. How did this happen? Didn't my space just have an abundance of supplies? Mirella clutched her head, screaming frantically. No way. Shouldn't Alara be dead? I get it now. Alara must have been reborn. It's definitely Alara's doing. I knew she couldn't stand to see me happy. Mirella widened her eyes as she looked at everyone. Alara must still be alive. She knew the apocalypse was coming all along. She must have stockpiled supplies. If we just find Alara, we'll be saved. As usual, I turned on the surveillance, but unexpectedly overheard Mirella's words. I know that Mirella has also been reborn, and the thought of it excites me even more. A Mirella with memories will make revenge even more satisfying. The neighbors had no idea who Alara was and simply thought Mirella had gone mad, scattering away, while the relatives seemed lost in thought. Instead, the eldest cousin stepped forward and asked Mirella, since you know Alara prepared a lot of supplies, do you know where Alara is now? Mirella covered her face and shook her head. I don't know. Third aunt slapped Mirella across the face. If you don't know, then why are you spouting nonsense? I picked up my phone and sent Mirella a video call. When Mirella answered the call, her eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at me. Elara, I knew you were still alive. You've reincarnated, haven't you, you? Bitch, I'm going to kill you, you should have died. How dare you treat me like this? I smiled. I ignored Mirella's words and calmly sipped my afternoon tea. Oh, the coffee is a bit bitter, but the little cake is quite sweet. After saying that, I flipped the camera to show the little cake on the table. 6. Mirella on the other end was still shouting, Elara, just you wait. She suddenly stopped mid-sentence, then burst into laughter, laughing so hard that tears and snot ran down her face. The relatives stepped back one after another, feeling that Mirella had been driven mad. After finishing her laughter, Mirella pointed at me. Elara, you're finished. I know where you are now. Just wait. You'll become the next me. I curled my lips. Oh really? Then I look forward to you coming for me. After saying that, I hung up the phone. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by the noise downstairs, wearing my pajamas. I came out to the balcony and saw Mirella leading a group of people standing outside my villa, attempting to open the main gate. I smiled. A villa designed to withstand zombies and natural disasters couldn't possibly be opened manually. At that moment, a relative outside spotted me and pointed in my direction. Look, it's Elara. She really didn't die, and she's living so well all by herself. How selfish. Everyone else is struggling so much. How can she still be enjoying herself? Of course, there were also those who played the family card. Elara, your auntie even held you when you were little. Can't you save your auntie now? I've always believed in you. Elara, let us in. I ignored my relatives' pleas and started counting the people. Why is one still missing? Oh, my mom is still locked in the storage room. Must be over half a month now. TSK, now I'm probably more screwed than when I died in my previous life. Seeing the lack of people, I decisively turned my gaze toward Mirella. Mirella had already become so emaciated she barely looked human. Glaring at me fiercely, I've found you, Elara. You couldn't defeat me in your past life, and you won't defeat me in this one either. I let out a mocking laugh. Do you really think you could have found this place if I didn't want you to? Yes, I intentionally revealed landmarks to let Mirella know my location. Mirella glared at me venomously. Once I get in, I swear I'll kill you. I shrugged. I'm afraid you won't be able to get in. The cousin who was trying to use his special ability to unlock the door but failed, angrily punched the door in frustration. The sound of electric current sizzled as the cousin let out a howl and quickly withdrew his hand. Everyone immediately backed 3 steps away from my door. Mirella looked at me in shock. How long ago did you reincarnate? It's impossible you could have made so many preparations in such a short time. But I'm the savior. I was the one who saved them. I'm clearly stronger and more capable than you. So why do you get to reincarnate? What gives you the right to be reborn? Watching Mirella's frenzied state, I sneered and said, maybe even the heavens couldn't stand what you did in your past life. Gave me an absolutely invincible golden finger. As long as I have money, I can buy anything. And guess what? I just happen to have money. I smiled at Mirella. Didn't you say money is just worthless paper in the apocalypse? Well, sorry, but money is omnipotent in my hands. Mirella looked at me in disbelief. What can money do in the apocalypse? Throw it at zombies. I spent money to buy a bag of chips from the store, munching on them noisily. Money is of course for buying things. Mirella looked shocked. Where did you buy this? I raised an eyebrow. Give it a try. Mirella didn't move, but instead the auntie beside her took out her bank card and started praying to the gods. When third aunt took action, many relatives followed suit, but unfortunately none of them manifested any divine power. Mirella shouted angrily, you've been deceived. Elara tricked you. This must be her special ability. If we charge in and hold a knife to her throat, she'll surely tell the truth. The relatives were stirred up by Mirella, yet they hesitated as they gazed at my imposing villa gate. They tried everything, axes, fire, hammers, using every tool at their disposal, until the horizon turned pale. The zombies around had been completely wiped out by the lethal weapons I used earlier, resulting in not a single one appearing. The relatives who couldn't get in were now exhausted and collapsed on the side. Third aunt cried and shouted at the door, Elara, I beg you, please let us in. I'll serve you like a slave. Just save us. I dug my ears and pulled out a new type of firework tube bought with money. Since you disturbed my beauty sleep, you might as well become fuel for the fireworks. The crowd turned pale with shock at the sight. Elara, we're blood relatives. If you won't save us, do you really intend to kill us? Mirella widened her eyes in disbelief. How dare you? Elara, I'm your own sister, your own flesh and Blood, I let out a cold laugh. Now you realize I'm your biological sister. When you killed me in our past life, why didn't you consider I was your own elder sister? A tear fell from Mirella's eye, her gaze filled with utter despair. 3, 2, 1, fire. I pressed the activation button. I clearly saw the terror in Mirella's eyes and the relatives scattering in all directions, screaming to escape. Too bad it's useless. My fireworks launcher has a targeting function, you know, every single person who bullied me in my past life won't get away. Whoosh boom, clusters of fireworks soared into the sky, becoming the last brilliance in this apocalyptic world. I leaned against the railing, admiring my own masterpiece. Beautiful, absolutely breathtaking. The fireworks were fleeting, but vengeance was finally mine. I finally raised a happy smile. Turning back into the house, what follows is a new life and a fresh start.